I just came back from a $10,000 tournament in Germany, Home Story Cup for the people that know it. And in this tournament, I did the craziest challenge I have ever done in a big tournament. No exaggeration, I'm 100% sure. So the groups got announced. My group was incredibly difficult and I wasn't feeling particularly inspired. As you guys know, my style of play is to do something that's weird but can also still work, right? And I got a lot of Protoss players in my group. PvP has been a little rough. I also had Lambo in my group, who's a very solid Zerg player that's difficult to cheese. So I did something drastic. What I did is I made the uThermal build council. Basically, in my group, I had 5 opponents, 5 matches to play, and I gave 1 match to every league from Gold to Grandmaster. So for this first match against Kelazur, my Gold League viewers gave my builds. For the next one, it was going to be my Platinum viewers, etc. Now, I only had one real rule for these builds, and that rule was that I needed to believe that I had at least just like even a 1% chance to win, you know? I didn't want to do a build where I was like, I mean, this is just a free win for the opponent. That's not fun. I must believe that there was like the tiniest little bit of chance that I would win. You guys know me. I believe in some crazy stuff. A planetary rush I would have done, for example, right? So that was really the only rule. Besides that, they could go absolutely ham. For the first game, the build they gave me, the Gold Leaguers, was Proxy Reaper. That sounds pretty normal, into Proxy Battlecruiser, okay? Not one or the other, but both. Now, just a little bit of extra context there. I am allowed to, or I wouldn't say I'm allowed, it's just what I did is sometimes I modified their build a little bit, because especially the lower leagues, they would give me build orders that I just needed like 3 times more money for to afford. Like some of the things I simply couldn't afford. Like for this one, to follow, I think it was something like 2-Rex Reaper into Proxy Battlecruiser, and then you make Ravens, Libs, and Vikings, and 4-Rex Marine. It's like, I can't afford any of that at all. So what I did is I just went for Proxy Reaper into Proxy Battlecruiser, as you can see, and then from that point on, I would just check to see, you know, whatever we could make happen from that point on. Now, first match, if you guys don't know Kelazur, one of my best friends, actually. Really fun to play against him in the tournament. First match of the tournament as well. About a 6.2 KMMR Terran. I would say roughly similar in skill. Now, unfortunately for me, he did go for the double gas. I went to sneak by here, trying to kill a couple workers. I'm going to get probably 2 or 3 workers here for sure. Looks like I only got 2 there, I believe. Maybe get another one. I tried to go for the Reaper there. Normally, this is not exactly what you want to do with a Proxy Reaper. In hindsight, I would say that I should have been a little more patient here. The reason why I went so ham is because, I mean, my builder is obviously not an efficient build, right? Proxy Reaper into Proxy Battlecruiser is not the kind of thing where you're like, I kill 4 workers and I'm fine. No, what I thought is I have to make a lot happen. I kind of wanted to kill 4 SCVs, to be honest. I didn't want to kill just 2, but I just wanted to make sure to get something done. In hindsight, what I should have done here is really just lean into the mind games a little more, right? Because he doesn't know I'm going to follow this up with a Proxy Battlecruiser. Fun fact, like I mentioned, one of my best friends, I told him I'm not going to tell him my challenge until after we play, because I didn't want to spoil my challenge and have him know that I'm going to be doing absolutely ridiculous build orders. Now, this was a really good counter by him, and sadly for me, the factory was barely not finished. The micro here on the Reaper was pretty good. Looks like this is going to be enough to clean up the Reaper, so that is all right, at least judging by this micro. Exactly, there we go. Good pullback there. So he would have lost that Reaper to the SCVs. Now, what I did in the meantime is I didn't stop building Reapers, because I figured he would probably expect me to have flown back already. And as you can see, he did indeed move out with these units. Now, if you look at the situation of the game, we are pretty far behind, right? Like down 5 workers, and he has a command center, which I don't have. And his starport is already finished while I'm building mine in the middle of the map. Now, with this little attack, we did actually get the worker count back to even. He's still up 1 worker and the command center. At the same time, the chaos did make him forget to make an orbital here. So all in all, was a pretty good counterattack. And now I'm going to do something that looks a little weird, but is actually pretty common. After the Proxy Reaper, you can scout with 1 barracks. In some weird scenarios where you play mech, you can actually scout with 2 barracks, by the way. But here, 1 barracks would have been fine because I needed units on the defense, right? Because at the same time, I'm going for a Proxy Battlecruiser over here. Now, he is going for a tank drop, I believe. Yeah, he didn't make a Cyclone. This is pretty much exactly what you want, right? Not necessarily the tank drop, to be fair. What you want them to play is, first of all, something without a Cyclone. Second of all, something that doesn't make fast Vikings. That's pretty much the entire thing you need for a battlecruiser to work. Now, as you can see, because the start was a little rough, this is going to be quite slow. I have 1 Hellion at home. 2 Reapers are here going on the counterattack. Even now I can see everything. I thought this was a pretty good move because there's no way these Reapers would have been useful at home. And now you're wondering how on earth I'm going to defend this. Well, the answer is I probably shouldn't be able to. This is actually a pretty cool move. Look at this. I landed the barracks over here, and then I shift-clicked the Marine onto a couple SCVs. Now look at this. He dropped the tank, and this Cyclone just finished, locked onto the tank. A little bit of a pro tip. You can see this range indicator in-game as well. You can use it to stay as far away from the tank as possible. If you're not on the literal maximum range, the tank is going to shoot your Cyclone, so you have to do that perfectly. And because of that, I mean, honestly, extremely lucky by me. I'm not going to pretend that was some kind of inhumanly skilled move by me. That was super, super lucky. Now, we still only have 1 Cyclone against the rest of this. This barracks is still responsible for a couple of SCV skills. I do have a battlecruiser. Or is it the first one? Actually, no, it is still the first one. Okay, never mind. I thought I had one out already. Now, this Cyclone is on 2 kills. It's gonna get a lot more kills here. As you can see, the repair is very, very strong, making sure to kill the Hellions when I can. He pulled that one back. A really good micro there by my friend Kellizer. But the Cyclone is going to clean everything up. And now we have a battlecruiser. And I know we're eternally far down, but let me tell you guys, there is always a way with a BC. Sadly for me, Mr. Cyclone, right? He does have a Raven as well, but I believe... Let's see, he doesn't have the interference matrix upgrade yet. He's building that now. Sadly for me, he's making another Cyclone. If he went for only Marines and tanks, I'm not even exaggerating, this PC would have killed pretty much everything he had, and then he would have attacked my base with his army, killed everything I had at home, and then we would have seen whether my 1 BC or his entire army would win. Now, this is actually a little unfortunate here, because he did go for the second Cyclone. This PC can still kill 1 million workers under under the Cyclone. Raven almost dies, but if he didn't build this Cyclone, I'm really not kidding, guys. This PC would have gone absolutely ham. I didn't even realize that we actually killed the Cyclone over there. Got a couple of units on the counter attack here too. I do want to say, we have actually been able to make a lot happen this game after a really horrible start. 20 workers killed already. Cyclone is still alive. He didn't see the starport in my base, so at this point he should know that it is proxied. Does he know where it's proxied? The answer is probably not. Now, this is when his adaptation really came into play. Going for Macfield and making more Cyclones. Really, really smart play. I think he also could have gone for the Vikings, but I think he wanted to make sure that he would have had enough interference matrices for tanks and stuff like that. So here, he's going to go in. He actually uses the scan, but the repair saves my Cyclone, which is very, very nice. Now, is this a thing that I can defend? Maybe with a lot of good fortune. That Cyclone's 1 HP. Gonna have to go for that with my own Cyclone. Exactly, there we go. And now, the only reason I'm still in this game is because I have 1 battlecruiser left. I did not know if he was going to go for follow-up Cyclones or something like that. This Cyclone, by the way, 15 kills on it. Like I mentioned, it was going to get a lot more kills. I was sure about that. There we go. The battlecruiser is about to go in. Once again, Macfield is going to be very, very painful. I'm trying my best to survive on these 2 Cyclones. This is, by the way... If you have this as an observer, or if you see this as an observer, you might think, you're staying in the game too long, whatever. I would actually recommend to really try to make something happen as long as there's even the smallest chance. Like here, look, he has 1 Cyclone across the map. If he didn't have a Cyclone at home, this battlecruiser would have been able to go ham, right? Like, once again, would have killed every single worker. And look, even now, he's only up 10 workers. There, he almost loses the Cyclone, and he didn't bring another one back. Sadly for me, his micro is just a little bit too good. It's a little bit of a stalemate up at my base, but he is going to be able to take care of this battlecruiser, and that is going to be officially game. I mean, I would love to be able to win this game from here on out, but also I knew at this point, I think I was already laughing to myself in the booth. We were sitting next to each other, by the way, so I was very tempted to like kind of look over and see his reaction. Here he's going to go forward. Tank is going to siege in range. I don't know how these Cyclones are so freaking good. 21 kills on these Cyclones. I mean, his main base is still not... Wait, what's the income right now? It's actually surprisingly close, you know? Now, here I went, trying to go for a little bit of a forward attack. He still has a bunch of Ravens. I actually snipe another Raven as well. At this point, I'm more having fun with my opponent rather than actually trying to win this game at this point. I do have another BC. Wouldn't surprise me if I would wait for that as well. That Cyclone is gonna kill my own Cyclone. I do quickly go in for the snipe. That turret's nice, my Cyclone. And that is officially going to be GG for game number 1. Now, this build, could it have worked? I'm not sure if I mentioned it, by the way, but just so you guys know, this is going to be the most normal build of the series, okay? Just saying. If you guys thought this was crazy, it's about to get even crazier. Could this build have worked? I would say it definitely could have worked because Proxy Reaper is a very potent opening. After the early game, it would have been very, very tough. However, I really think that if my opponent wouldn't have made Cyclones, let's say he would have made tanks to keep attacking or only one Cyclone, I think the BC actually would have had a small chance to make it happen. Obviously, we needed some good fortune, needed some miss micro by the opponent and stuff. But Kelliser here played very, very well. Let's go to game number 2. Game number 2 is going to be on 10,000 feet. Every single match here is going to be a best of 3, by the way. Now, this build was fake proxy barracks into double expand into Ghost Raven Hellion. Okay. First of all, that is not a composition against Terran. Just so you guys know, if you suggest me to make Ghost against Terran, you crazy. I like you, but you're crazy, okay? That is not a unit you want against Terran. However, like I mentioned, I'll do every single strategy that I believe in a little bit. Now, initially, I wanted to proxy the barracks outside of my base, but then I decided, first, I think I wanted to go over here to proxy it, but then I realized that there's like a nice little area over here that I can proxy, and it's actually pretty hard to find, so I thought this would suffice as a fake proxy racks. Now, in the first game, he went double gas and he didn't SCV scout, so he might not even see a fake proxy barracks, right? So for that reason, I also wanted to make it at least somewhat close to my base so I wouldn't just damage myself. Now, you might have noticed on the minimap that I put a camera hotkey over here. So what I decided to do was, instead of doing a quote-unquote regular double expand, is I went for a hidden expansion first and then expanding in the normal place. The main reason for that is that Terrans in TVT are very aggressive. The third base here is pretty close. I mean, this would get seen by anything. This would already get seen if he just moves over here with his units. And this is next to the Reaper jump-up cliff, right? So any normal third base... I mean, I could make it in my main base, but then I feel like it kind of defeats the purpose. So I decided to just take a base in the corner over here. Now, just one thing quickly, by the way, guys. I already know a lot of you are going to absolutely love that challenge. I know some of you are going to be like, these guys cooked up such bad builds. We're not hating anyone for the builds today, because today I wanted to do the most ridiculous fun builds ever and try to make them work. All losses are on me, okay? They're not on the builds, they're on my execution. I really genuinely thought that all these builds would have had at least a small chance to win. So any loss, you guys can blame me for them, but let's be very thankful to the cooks, right? Because this challenge, I feel like it was so much freaking fun, okay? To me personally, it really felt like a big celebration of the channel in general, like a real culmination of just our entire cheese legacy, you know? Everyone coming together to freaking forge a bunch of ridiculously cheesy, ridiculous, stupid builds, right? In a big tournament at that, so really shout out to the entire community. And if you're like, oh man, I missed out on this challenge, why did I miss out? You probably missed out because you're not in a Discord. Just saying. So if you want to partake, I mixed partake and participate there. If you want to participate in any of these challenges, join the Discord, fill in your league role, and you'll see. Now, Kelliser decided to hop in here with 2 Reapers. This is actually... I know it looks bad. This is actually, in my view, completely standard for playing gas first Reaper expand against someone that attacks with 2 Reapers. I mean, I lost 1 Reaper and 1 SCV at the cost of, you know, him losing a Reaper and him having a way later expansion. Actually, he loses both Reapers, so this was a really good start. Now, I do have to admit, what he saw was incredibly suspicious, because... well, I don't know if he knows the timings. He probably realized that I'm, you know, doing something a little weird because his Reaper arrived earlier and he saw 1 Reaper over here and no expansion. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, yeah, this is kind of what I thought. He would probably think that I'm proxying something, but it's a hidden base instead. Now, I obviously saw these games from first-person POV, but it's going to be really fun to rewatch them when I basically have, I was going to say map packs, just full vision, right, as an observer. Because then I can see how they react and what they were scared of. Now, he was definitely scared here because he's going to go for... Look at what he's making, right? He has 2 Cyclones already. There I got a little fortunate, by the way. The reason why he retreated with the Hellions is because he showed me the 2 Cyclones. I actually barely had vision of those on the ramp. Otherwise, would have been -2 Hellions. But yeah, so far, 2 Barracks already. 2 Cyclones already. Our economy is about to take off. Now, the problem is that if he attacks us, we do still have to freaking survive his attack. Now, this is why I went for a Viking instead of a Raven. Raven would have been nice, but Viking would help against drops, right? Like, keep in mind, I'm making Hellions. I'm going for Viking, Raven, Ghost, Hellion it was. Excuse me. If I don't make the Vikings, there's no anti-air, really, right? I can make Ghost, but that's super expensive. So I decided to go for mass Hellions first so I could maybe overwhelm a frontal attack and then make the Viking just so I could actually hunt down a drop instead of being tortured forever. Now I'm moving a Hellion across the map just to get a little bit of scouting information. Sadly, oh, I barely missed this move out actually. That would have been really nice to see. Yeah, I didn't really see this move out coming across at all. I thought it was probably just 2 Cyclones moving across the map with 1 Marine. Now we are gonna probably not pick that. Yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully I'm not stupid enough to actually go there when I know there's 2 Cyclones out. Now my income is starting to look... Oh, that's the wrong button, sorry. Starting to look very healthy, as you can see, a lot of minerals, but my build is barely not coming together yet. There's a push over here, extremely nasty position, and this is going to be really, really difficult to stop here. I'm already building a Raven. You might think it's not going to be useful right away, but Raven will spawn with an auto turret, right? I'm trying to get as many Hellions out as possible. Even losing a couple workers here is fine, because remember, my opponent here is on 2 base. Now here I'm going to go in. These Hellions are going to get a really nice hit off. The turret is going to get in a little bit later. Every Marine has already died, but now I'm going to have to deal with the tank, which is going to be incredibly painful. Tank is going to... That auto turret's super, super, super useful, by the way. Now the Viking is going to take care of the medevac. The tank has already died here. I make a little bit of a misdecision here. I saw this when watching the replay, actually. I should have gone for that Cyclone instead of backing off there. I think I killed 1 Marine instead, but killing that Cyclone would have been very, very nice. Now, even if you look at the situation here, guys, I know it looks rough, but we are up 5 workers. Right? Don't forget about this. I have a whole freaking mining base over here. Now, that Cyclone is still being an absolute menace. Hopefully, yeah, I was going to say, hopefully I can target down that Cyclone. The tank is still alive, but I am making 3 Hellions at a time, and I'm sure that shortly we will be able to take care of these units. Couple of mules landing in here. So far, I was trying to launch all my mules over here, but I know historically, whenever I do hidden expansions, I always end up just launching them in these bases by default. It's just complete muscle memory. So, okay, we survive. The situation somehow is that we have way more income still, not counting gas, because he has 4 gases against 2. Our unit count is honestly relatively similar. I mean, obviously, his unit make more sense, right? Playing Marine Tank instead of Hellion Raven. Pretty sure I'm about to start a Ghost Academy as well. Now, Blue Flame is very nice. This guy is going to be an absolute demon here, by the way, because I lost my Viking earlier, so my anti-air is 2 Marines and a couple of auto turrets. I'm going to go across with these Hellions. At this point, I can tell you guys, I had no idea that he was on 2 base. I thought that economically I was cooked, okay? Because normally you don't really attack like that on 2 bases, right? So I thought my economy was going to be absolutely terrible. But instead, my economy was actually quite good. Now, this is where it gets really painful. Liberator in the main, I do not have good anti-air for it, and my units were out on the map. At the same time, I'm going to get into his base, sadly, before Blue Flame is finished. So we're probably going to kill about 10 workers or so. I think that is going to be it. 12 workers, actually. Now, that does manage to survive, but here, the mistake of the game happened. Let me go back so you guys can see it. The biggest mistake of the game, I should say. The reason why I lost my base, you guys might have realized it already, is because I didn't remember it was already half HP from the attack before. You kind of have like an internal clock, like you know how long it's gonna take. Like I looked back at this moment, I remember. This is the moment when my camera went back, looked at the command center and I saw it explode and I was like, how did it die so freaking fast? But then I realized it was already half HP from the attack before, so I lose that base. Now, funnily enough, our economy is still going to be very comparable. In fact, better when it comes to the minerals, because we still have that hidden base. But now we still have to deal with this attack. It's going to be okay, actually, because I do have the auto turrets over here. 1 interference matrix. Blue Flame Hellion is obviously very, very good against Marines. Now he has to run away. These auto turrets really carried my ass against these tanks, by the way. The entire aggression so far, right? Like the first one and the second one. And if you look at the situation, this situation would have been... Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say it would have been good. I mean, if the command center stayed alive, our eco would have still been better. Opponent is clearly scared, right? Because he hasn't taken his third yet. I think the situation would have been okay if we saved the base. And now it's just, I would say, regularly bad, I guess. I mean, our composition is actually surprisingly okay. You know why? Because the ghosts are actually helpful against what he has. The reason why they're helpful is because my opponent's making Marauders. Why Marauders aren't good here is because Marauders are basically just a juicier snipe target. They're not going to be better against the rest I have, really. Like, I mean, they're going to be good against auto turrets. They're going to be a bit more tanky against Hellions. But realistically, Mass Marine with tanks would probably do the job. But now, he just gave me a juicier target for my snipe. I talked with him about this after the game, and he thought it was so funny. At some point, he's going to drop my base. You're going to see it soon, and I'm going to snipe his Marauders. And he didn't realize that it was snipes, because it's such a ridiculous unit to build in TVT the Ghost that he thought it was like the line of a Widowmine or something. And all of a sudden, his Marauders exploded. Thought it was a really funny moment. Now, my Hellions are going to sneak in here again. The supply is still relatively close. This is the fight I was talking about. These Hellions are going to kill all these workers. Snipes are... Oh, actually, this is what... Oh, wait. Oh, I guess that was a thing that happened later on. So what I did here is I used Interference Matrix. In case you guys didn't know, Interference Matrix cancels the boost. It doesn't just prevent you from using Medevac boost, it also cancels it out. So here, he drops them, and here come the snipes, and 2 Marauders are just gonna pop like that. It's just so beautiful, actually. I can't believe that the snipes found a way to be useful. Now, me being me, in the meantime, obviously I took a hidden expansion over here, because why the heck not? But I did trade out all of my Hellions already. These Ravens are really, really good here, guys, but they're out of energy. And yeah, tanks and Marauders are going to be so strong against these auto turrets. I don't have upgrades for the auto turrets as well, so that's going to be very, very difficult there. I forced a little bit of a siege, and I snuck out with a couple Hellions. Destination third base, of course. Drop is back in the main base. I A-moved my SCVs earlier, but he picked them up and dropped them again. I tried to go in for one more fight. The Ghost, actually, surprisingly, magnificently useful. That mule looked like it was a mule for fun, but I actually misclicked it. That was not supposed to land there. GG has to be called, and Kellizer wins game number 2 as well. Now, this game, the strategy was obviously extremely crazy, but I think we were pretty close to making it work. And I think from the observer POV, you could see why, because he was so scared because there was no base over here. I think he was sure it was some kind of proxy, so he went for 2 racks and a Cyclone, right? 2 Cyclones, in fact, not a tank, second barracks, no third CC. He tried to attack me. The initial defense was pretty good for us, actually, but losing the command center, I think, was the nail in the coffin. Maybe if it's kind of hard to say, but maybe if it didn't happen, we would have been able to get a couple tanks out, and then we actually could have won this game. Obviously, once again, I need so many things to go well for me, but anyway, in my opinion, it was a beautiful series. We do lose 0-2. Let's move on to series number 2 by the Platinum Cooks. Series number 2 is going to be against Nightmare, a top Korean Protoss player. Now, for this one, I want to say that the challenges I got from the Platinum players were definitely the least elaborated ones out of all of them. I think the Gold players really had, like, you know, a whole essay written for every build, the explanations and the variations and things like that. The Platinum players were just like, Roach Rush, game number 1. Now, Roach Rush, I'll be honest, I only had one build for it. And you've seen that build recently. It's the build I used against the 4K Trash Stalker on Celestial Enclave. Now, the thing that sucks for me, guys, is that that build really is specifically meant for that map, and I thought it was a Protoss map, so I would imagine that it wouldn't have been vetoed, but he did actually veto it, so then I just had to go for it on another map, right? So basically what you want to do is you want to build a hatch inside the opponent's base, which you can do on that map, because there's like a little in-base worker path, right? Like imagine you could get over here, and then you start building burrowed roaches from outside and burrow them in. I really had no other Roach Rush, and to be honest, against Protoss, since they always go for a Stargate, I don't think you can really do a later version, so I just went for this one. So I went for a hatchery first over here, and then the pool. Now this is where we actually got very unlucky, to be honest. I think what happened here is that my opponent, Nightmare, just assumed that my Zerg sucks. Correctly assumed. Let me correct myself there. Correctly assumed. Because it does suck. And he just went for a blind second gateway. And you might wonder, why is it blind, right? Because he saw your base. Yeah, so very commonly, Zerg will take another hatch. I think he just assumed that I would have taken this one since he scouted a little late. More commonly, what you would see is that they actually confirm, because my spawning pool timing was normal, right? But I think what he thought was, okay, this guy Zerg sucks, I'm way better than him, I'm just gonna pretend this is a cheese. I'm not even gonna give the chance that he took the third hatchery any thought, and I'm just gonna go for the second gateway right away. If I knew that he went for the second gate faster, let's say my Overlord would have arrived a little faster, what I could have done is just make a bunch of links. Like here, I could have already been making links from home, right? I don't really have that much money, to be honest, right? Like it would have been a little bit close on the roaches. But you can look at the unit count already. He's not taking a Nexus here. He's really doing everything perfectly. And that is pretty brutal for me, because I'm going to have to build 3 roaches. Also, this is an interaction that I didn't even know existed. I don't know if you guys have seen this before. I didn't know because no one ever makes... Well, normally when I do this, I just make links from this so I don't get to see it. I didn't know an adept would kill the larva that fast. So this was supposed to be 3 roaches, but instead it's 4 zerglis and 1 roach, which is obviously way less menacing, right? Now, at this point, Burrow wasn't finished yet, so I couldn't actually save that queen. I mean, here, just straight up, I need to perform some absolute magic to make anything happen here, especially because my opponent is also better than me. I lose the Overlord on top of this. I'm trying to sneak in here with Lynx, but he already has a probe in the wall. I mean, it's not just that we got unlucky, he also just did everything perfectly. I made... honestly, not that many mistakes. I would say like 1 or 2 mistakes or something. But this is so far an absolute disaster. I'm not sure I mentioned it in the last game. I think I did say it in the last game, or at least I wanted to say it, was that this video is gonna have some horribly disgusting losses and some absolutely amazing wins. Okay, both of them. But this one, I think you guys can kind of see where it's going. I'm really doing my absolute best here, guys, but he really needs to mess this up big time. He's already gonna make Warp Gate. He has 3 batteries here, which he hasn't had to use. Now, doing the unburrow with the roaches is actually quite nice, as you can see. Getting a lot of free damage done with these roaches. But I'm just never gonna be able to break through these batteries, and my economy back at home is pretty bad. He's gonna be able to warp in 2 more Stalkers whenever he wants to. Actually, he did get a little bit supply block, so that is a bit of a dub for me. Robo is on the way. I'm still doing the thing. Maybe we can get 1 Stalker over there. Yeah, I mean, it's really fun to play like this, but I mean, if we didn't have the batteries, I think there would have been a very tiny chance that we could have made something happen here. Right now, it's looking incredibly tough, but obviously, I'm not someone that's gonna give up. Like I mentioned in the Battlecruiser game, you just never freaking know, guys. And honestly, even more now that you guys chose my builds, I felt even more pressure to really try my absolute best, because I was aware that some of these builds were not going to be as good, some of these builds were going to get slapped down hard, but I really wanted to try my literal absolute freaking best. So my next move was to go for a link speed. I wanted to try do a little bit of a link flood go in, but his observer already finished, and I realized that I would have had no chance. And I can tell you guys for sure that this is the worst loss you're going to see in this video. There's going to be some other losses for sure, but this one, yeah, you got the most disgusting one out of the way. That is for sure. Not the only Zerg game I'll play today. The other Zerg game is going to be a lot funner. Let me tell you that. Let's get to game number 2. Okay, game number 2 of the second series is going to be on Winter Madness, and for this game, they wanted me to play Terran, and they wanted me to go for a Proxy Marauder, which really is, yeah, I mean, is one of my absolute favorite TVP cheeses, so I did not mind. I would say that out of the build so far, I thought that this one was, I mean, the strongest one, because that's the cheese I do like most of the time. Sadly for me, he found my SCV in the middle of the map. Now, me being crazy me, obviously, I mean, it's not even about me being crazy. I also just want to stick to it. You guys know me, right? Let's be honest. I never go away from the challenge, okay? I always try. So I'm still going to proxy. The change I made was that I just was going to proxy far away, basically. Ideally, I wanted to build it here. This is actually my favorite spot. As I didn't actually notice, but he scouted there. So good choice that I didn't. Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense. I still wanted to go for a proxy. I still have to go for a proxy in my mind. Honestly, if it wasn't a challenge, I probably still would have done it, knowing myself anyway. So it's not even like I'm suffering for the challenge. He's scouting absolutely everywhere, but I built it really far away, so he's doing quite well. Hey, I was about to say... Wait, did he just... Guys, let's... I think he was about to scout it. Let's speed this up a little bit. Yeah, he was about to scout it, but then he changed, right? Is that what happened? I think it is. Yeah, look! Let's go, baby. Oh, that is very, very nice. Okay. Now, I can tell you guys, he's going to scout it at some point, but he actually was en route to scout it. Just so you guys know, it does make sense for him to scout like this instead, because proxying here is so much less likely than proxying here or even here. But I can't deny that I got a little lucky there, right? Like, that was very, very nice. Now, for this particular build, you don't actually want to have your proxy scouted. Oh, he's going to scout it now. Actually, first he changed it to make his scouting pathing worse, and then he changed it to make it better, because initially he was going to scout like this and then here, I believe. Now, the reason why is because... Here, I barely wasn't able to block his base, by the way. Is because Marauders are less common than, like, Reapers when you go for a proxy barrack, so I rather would have had him just not see the add-on. Now, he does see the add-on, but, I mean, this is a situation that I've won many times before, so at this point, even though it's not the best start ever, in fact, I was starting to get a little grumpy over here, because I just wanted the things to go well for me, you know, and for you guys. After all, this is not just a competition of me against the opponents, it's also you guys against the opponents, and, perhaps more importantly, the platinums against the golds and the diamonds and stuff, right? Like, the leagues are also competing against each other. Now, the Marauder arrives quite fast. He's building a battery over here. Basically, if you go for 2 racks Marauder, at some point you can burst through the battery. If you go for 1 racks Marauder, you can't. So the moment this battery finishes, that's the time when we have to stop attacking. Now, there was no follow-up written in the Platinum statement for the build, but I did want to go for, well, at least, I'm not sure if it was the best build ever, but I did want to make sure that I could put on some aggression, right? Because he's defending early with the battery. If they go for the battery, that means they didn't get tech very fast. As you can see, there's no second gateway yet, or Robo, or Twilight, or Stargate, or whatever. Now, we do have a little bit of a skirmish here. Have to be very, very careful. He's walking very far forward, and maybe we can kill a Stalker there if I have micro well enough. I think we should be able to, or is the battery close enough? Yeah, we do get that Stalker. Very nice. We're going to lose a Marauder for it, so that's a little bit annoying. We're also going to kill the Zealot for it. All in all, I think pretty decent trades. As you can see, 1 unit for 2, right? Was it the Zealot and Stalker for the 1 Marauder? That's all that happened. Now, what I thought was that if he doesn't go for the tech early, in particular a Stargate, because then, if it's a Stargate, you kind of have to hurry, okay? Because a Void Ray could come out, right? But wait, did he see the... Oh, he did see the Starper there. Probably with that Zealot earlier, right? Not with those Stalkers, if I had to guess. But anyway, what I thought was, since there's no Stargate, he has batteries at the front. What I can do is I can elevator into his base. And if you fight with this army outside of range of the batteries, all of a sudden it's going to be very, very powerful. Now, sadly for me, he was very well aware of this. He's going to try to do a little bit of target firing, but I micro that Marauder up into the medevac, which is really, really nice. Every time he gets closer, he really does take a big risk. Now, he's going to pull the workers here, going to micro that Marauder again. Barely actually managed to pick up that one. I'm kind of impressed by that, actually. I didn't think I was going to save that one. Very, very nice. Saved every single Marauder so far. Now, here I realize he does have a battery over there. I started building a Liberator, because as soon as we have that Liberator, we can start locking the position down. Here, my Hellions are going to kill 2 more probes. If you look at the worker count right now, we are 24 against 17, but we are still on 1 base, right? So we do still have to make something happen here, but it was a very, very good start, that's for sure. Now, the Marauder is really low HP, so I have to be careful. Now I'm going to go forward here. Didn't dare to go here and siege the ramp right away. I really had to, get possession over here first, or control the position rather. Try to get control of these batteries so he wouldn't be able to just kite me back to the batteries all this time. And now I just went for it. He decided to click on the Liberator, which is a good move to be honest, but I noticed that his batteries were getting drained very fast, and now he actually just doesn't have enough stuff. Really good force field there. Now I'm targeting down this pylon. I'm not gonna lie, I targeted it down because I didn't want an Immortal to finish. I didn't realize it was a Warp Prism. Warp Prisms are really good, by the way, against all-ins, because they allow you to... They basically give all your units blink. Now there he target fired my medevac, didn't expect that. I think all he killed there was 1 Hellion, though. I think it was actually just 1 Hellion that was inside there. We're not gonna get the Stalker, but now we have the position. This is exactly what I was talking about. Now I can siege the ramp, and this is something that he can't actually... He can't ever go down anymore, right? Like, he just can't. I mean, Marauders plus the Liberator is going to be painful. He has a Robo here. Prism would have been great for him. That Liberator actually snatches another Stalker of the backhand, but because the Robo's downstairs, he can't escape his units with a Prism, and we get the first dub of the tournament on the board, and that was absolutely beautiful against a very, very good Protoss player as well. And like I mentioned at the start, this is the best cheese that I've gotten so far. Proxy Reaper would have been a pretty close second if I didn't have to follow it up with a Proxy Battlecruiser, I guess. But for me personally, this one would have won because I freaking love my Proxy Marauders. The first dub goes to the Platinums. Let's go to game number 3. Game number 3 of the series is going to be on Ruby Rock, and for this game, we're going to be playing Protoss. I believe this was the only series of the day where they wanted me to play every single race. There's some more multi-race series, but this is the only one where they wanted me to play 1 game of each. Now, this was one of the games where I had to modify the build a little bit because, like I mentioned, it was the build they gave me was a 0% win chance build. I mean, first of all, the build they gave me was a build specifically on a map that was vetoed. And besides that, it was also a build that couldn't work. It was proxy 3-gate, and then they wanted me to mine out the minerals on 10k feet, because let's say on that map there's like minerals over here, so you can kind of sneak into the natural with 3 gates. But the problem is that you can't break the main ramp with it, right? So I really thought that was a build that had absolutely no chance to work. So I decided to just switch it around a little bit. So the full build was proxy 3-gate Zealot, mine out the minerals, sneak into the natural, and then go for a 1-base Robo all-in. What I decided to do instead is something you never see in PvP. It's fake proxy gateways. The reason why you don't see this is because you need to wall off your main against adepts and stuff like that. So I fake proxied the gates, and then I was gonna go for the proxy robo all in after. So I used the elements of the build and just turned them into a way where I actually thought I would have had a chance to win, right? Basically, that's what I did. So opponent's gonna go for 2 gates. As you can see, he is scared. I just love seeing how scared they are. I mean, they should be, right? Like, they should be scouting, but my builds are confusing them a lot. Now, sadly for me, he decided to stick around with his probe, and I did have to show my fake proxy. I didn't have another pylon to build the cybercore on, and I couldn't delay the cybercore any further, so I did have to reveal him that. He did actually make a zealot as well. Yeah, his build was actually not very good. Look at this. He made the second pylon over here already as well. This would have been better. His second gas was incredibly late. He was making a zealot. Because he was making a zealot, actually, his gas was late. So my build actually got me ahead just for the fake proxy. So that is very, very nice. Now here is the probe that's going to go for that proxy robo. I wasn't quite sure which units I wanted to build from this. Adepts give a little more outplay potential. Stalkers are a bit more strong straight up, right? So kind of depends on how I wanted to go about it. Now he's going to go for a scout. I don't think he's going to... He's not scouting very broadly. It's pretty close to his base that he's scouting. I guess it's because my build is so weird, he's more looking for a proxy gateway than a proxy robo. I think that makes a lot of sense. The problem with proxy robo and PvP these days is, first of all, it's an incredibly strong build. Ooh, I think he's barely not going to see that probe, actually. It's a very strong build. Besides that, people proxy them everywhere. You'll see proxy robos here. Like, you just kind of have to guess some random places and hope that you scout it. I think that's pretty much accurate. That's just how it goes. You just hope that you find it, basically. That's what it comes down to. Now, I saw that they had no natural red yet. Look at my timing of the robo compared to his. That's all because of the early game, by the way. Like, he doesn't really have that much gas either, right? Like, it was a pretty tough start for him. Now, here I see the robo, and I was pretty happy seeing that, of course, because my robo was about to finish. Gonna start chrono boosting an immortal right away. Now, I didn't really know what to do with my units, to be honest. I thought I had a couple Stalkers at home, but now he's going to do this, which is an incredibly sneaky move. My Stalker sees it. Obviously, he's going to try and get on top of the Stalker. I'm now going to back with all of my units. I also have my Adepts that I can shade, which I think I'm going to do momentarily, building the battery in my main mineral line. Now, he's going to go for a proxy pylon, and I have a proxy robo and a gateway over here. Yeah, the most annoying thing about this is that I'm going to lose just a little bit of money, and that's going to make my build just a lot more expensive. So it's going to go for the recall. First Stalker dies, second one should get out. It does get out barely, actually. Now, I already have one Immortal. Okay, so it's good. This is nice to know. I wasn't sure if I should just walk in with the Immortal, because I didn't know what he would have. Now I see he has 5 Stalkers. I'm happy that I didn't walk in with that Immortal straight away. Now, my army looks very strong. I'm basically up by... If you calculate Defender's advantage, right, that he's going to have his Immortals over here, I'm up by 1 Robo unit. If we were fighting in the middle of the map, I would be up by 1.5 Robo units. Now, this is something very, very painful that I missed. I'm not going to lie. I killed this pylon by accident. Okay, I wasn't even... I think I just clicked over here. I wasn't intending to go here. But now, there were 2 Adepts in my base, and I didn't have a recall available for any units. So what's going to happen over here? This is why Proxy Robo is so good. You have to wall off against the Adepts, right? And when you do, if they proxy robo you, you can just attack this from the low ground and kill their gateways, kill their pylons and stuff. As you can see, he's supply block now as well. These Adepts are doing a lot of damage. And I'm going to explain you one big problem that I had this game. And that problem is that I thought that I was just bad. I'll explain. It sounds very dumb. I thought I was just bad, and I missed 2 Adepts shading from this pylon that I killed, okay? I didn't trust in my minimap vision enough, so I thought that I just missed those Adepts, and since I killed the pylon, there would be no more Adepts. I didn't realize that he warped them in from here. I kind of just underestimated myself a little bit there. For now, my army is still a little bit stronger because I have the Prism. Supply is about the same. He's going to spend a little bit of money. Going to kill 1 Stalker there for 1 Adept, I believe. But now he has 2 more Adepts into my main base. These 2 Adepts are coming across because, once again, I didn't think he would have anything over here. I think I chrono boosted my Immortal. I did. And these Adepts are... Well, I wouldn't say the final nail in the coffin, because to be honest, like, we have a lot of micro potential here, but I feel like theoretically, now he should be able to win. So what I decided to do was I was going to wait for my third Immortal. I was going to shade my Adepts in, see what he's going to do with his units. Most of the time, this is a fake shade. Here, I actually decided to finish the shade because it looked to me like he was pulling his units back. So this was actually a very nice engagement for me over here, because now he has to send Immortals back and stuff. And that's going to give me just a little bit of opportunity to go for it. Exactly. Look at this. Here, we're going to go forward. Prism does stay alive, luckily. Maybe I could have ferried my Immortals in a little bit closer. His units are still very far in the back. We have killed his gateways. He only has one gateway left, but we're also not really able to warp in, right? Because we lost a lot of probes behind this. Lost, 13 probes or so. We're down to 11. So I'm going to go forward here, but the Microbyte Nightmare is very, very good. And we are going to lose game number 3. But to be honest, extremely, extremely close game. The build totally worked. Now, I know it was my own adaptation of a build that was suggested, but this build actually worked fantastically. And now I see it as an observer. I'm even more of the opinion that it worked fantastically, because everything on his side was delayed. His gas, his robo, his third gateway, everything on my side was faster. I just didn't realize this freaking pylon. And I guess one thing that I could have done better, by the way, that I realize now, is that even after the fake proxy, I think my second and fourth pylon should have been here. Because that way, I could have seen anything entering, like the probe, for example. But I also would have only needed one building to wall it off against the Adepts. That's what you do. Basically what he did, right? Let's go back a little bit to before I started killing his buildings. Right here. So if I shade him with Adepts, he can build one battery over here. That's why you block it. So even while fake proxying, I could have still done the pylon thing. The only reason I thought of this is because I saw Showtime do it. Without the fake proxy, but building his pylons over here, just so he wouldn't lose his gateways to the proxy robo. So if I do this build again, that's what I will do. I'm considering the build a success. I lost to this proxy pylon over here. That's my bad. Fantastic series. We almost beat one of the best Protoss players in the world, top 5 Protoss player in Korea with the platinum builds. Now let's go to series number 3 against Lambo with the diamond cooks. Series number 3 is going to be against Lambo, the third best Zerg player in Europe. Now, normally, I'm not very excited to play against Lambo these days, because I feel like he is really, really good at dealing with my stupid stuff. He's just a very solid Zerg. It's hard to trick him. It's hard to get him with stupid, cheesy builds like I usually do. However, I really liked the builds that the Diamond players cooked up for this one. They were actually builds that I probably have done in the past. No, 100% have done in the past, but I just kind of forgot about. And I actually thought they would have a pretty good chance of at least making it look strong, sneaking a map, maybe even winning the series. So going into this one, very, very excited. So the first build was to play Blue Flame Hellion and Cloaked Banshee. Now, this build was from Wings of Liberty. Okay, I remember this build very clearly. I remember that Ryung did it against Sniper on... I don't know what the map was called. I just remember that it was a big map and it was kind of narrow. I want to say that it was GSL 2012. It was the GSL that was played in IPL in America. And I think he won that game. I remember the build quite well because I thought it was very cool. So what he did was he would go for the Blue Flame. Then the Zerg would take damage or not, right? Depending on their build. But because they saw Blue Flame, they wouldn't also make detection against Banshees. Now, these days, this mind game doesn't work as much because I feel like Zergs make blind spores in every base against Terran. You can afford it. Pretty much every single game, you're going to get harassed by air units from Terran. And a very cool strategy that Zerg players have is once the spores lose their value in the early game, you can place them at the edge of your main base like this, or maybe with one creep team where you put them like this, and then drops can't get in here anymore. So spores, basically always useful, so it's hard to go for that mind game. But I still think it's very useful. I mean, Banshees are going to keep you safe against Roaches. They're going to be good on the offense. I really like using Banshees in general. Now, Lambo doesn't shy away from blind countering cheeses. And that's the reason why I SCV scouted here. Because if you don't SCV scout, even if you go for a safe build like this, right? Reaper into Marine. What can happen is they go for a fast pull first, they send 6 or 8 links around, and then you're going to have to either pull 1,000,000 SCVs to save this base together with your 1 Marine or cancel the CC. Both are very bad scenarios, so for that reason I decided to go for the SCV scout. Didn't want to lose a game simply like that. Oh, also the follow-up to the build had to be a Hellion tank Banshee push. Or not necessarily Banshee. I think it was really focused on just Hellion or Hellbat tank. So that had to be the follow-up. I tried it a couple times with Bio before I remembered that the follow-up had to be Hellbat Tank, so didn't have that many practice games with it. In general, I really tried my best to practice at the event. It was a little hard because 2 of the players were next to me. I was sitting in the middle, so I was really trying to be sneaky and practice builds whenever they were busy and stuff. In the end, I think I got probably 1 or maybe 2 practice games in per build that I didn't know how to do. This build, I think I didn't practice it. I think I already knew how to, or well, I thought I knew how to do this one, I should say. So didn't give this one a practice. In the end, I went for factory first and then the starport. Could have done it the other way around as well. Now with the Reaper, not really expecting to do any damage here. I'm really just trying to be as annoying as possible. I guess this is, what is that, a Zergling died and a extractor cancel or something like this, or maybe he already canceled the extractor himself. Probably it's more likely with the opening build that he went to do. But anyway, it's a very heavy 2-base build. In hindsight, I think I would have done it slightly differently. I think I would have gone for maybe a 3cc version of this. And the reason I say that is mostly for the mind games, because if you look at what the Overlord sees, what the Zerglings see, it really doesn't feel like a build where there's a 3rd CC. Now, they would still never realize it's this build. This is why I built the factory all the way here, by the way, because Overlords live for a long time. As you can see, Viking would have been too late. Could have made a 2nd Marine. Would have cost me a bit of money. In the end, this Overlord is actually barely not gonna see this factory. Like, you can really see it's quite close there, right? So, pretty risky there, but it's okay. Now, he saw the Viking. He's probably gonna assume that it's a fake tech lab for that reason. And he's gonna go for the Roach Warren. Now, the Roach Warren here is the main reason why I think I should have done a 3-base version. I don't 100% know the thought process behind this. It could have been that he wanted to play roaches, which is pretty common. But I think if he wanted to play roaches already, he would have probably gone for a fast evolution chamber first to get +1 armor, because that's standard. So I think it's a safety Roach Warren triggered by the fact that there was no 3rd CC to be seen, and the fact that I wasn't actually making Banshees. He was probably expecting some kind of stupid Hellbat attack or something. So just for the mind game reason, I think we could have gone for a 3-base version. Also would have been way better for the follow-up, so that's something I'll do next time. In the end, this build actually still works out pretty well. I mean, I have a lot of units, right? I think the follow-up also felt quite powerful. You guys are going to see that in a little bit. But we're going to have 12 Hellions with Blue Flame. Sadly for me, he's making those roaches, but because besides those roaches, he really wouldn't have a lot of defense. Gonna go for Blue Flame. I'm gonna make the Cloak Banshees behind it. I'm already gonna start rallying those to a nice little spot around here. Trying to deny vision with the Viking at the same time. Hellions are gonna come across now. And yeah, sadly for me, he does have those roaches, so it's gonna be tough to deal damage with those. But in the end, I mean, I'm still gonna need Blue Flame Hellions later on, right? Oh. Wasn't letting me zoom out for a second there. Now here I saw the roaches, and this is a very difficult decision. It's very tempting to just go through here. Instead, I decided to go for the 3rd base. With good micro, he shouldn't really lose any drones here, and he doesn't. So that was very well done by him. If he panicked, this actually would have been a very good opener for me, because he would have lost all those drones, and then he would probably run across, if I had to guess, and run into 2 Banshees, and that would be very good for me. In the end, I decided to be a little smarter about it, save those Hellions, not make the same mistake that I made in the first game of the video, where I dived a little bit too hard with the Reapers. Instead, I just went to save those Hellions, and here we are going to go for the follow-up Hellbat tank push, right? 5 factories on the way, no armory yet, 2 Banshees are waiting here to be used. All in all, not the best early game ever for us, but at the same time, he didn't get any upgrades yet at all. I think he was really expecting something even more committed than what it was, because, yeah, 0 upgrades, 0 tech besides the Roach Warren. He built 10 roaches, which is not crazy, but still a decent amount. And here come the Banshees. Like I said, blind spores were built, but he still wasn't ready for the Banshees. Like I always say, having the blind counter is one thing, you still need to have your units in position, right? And he didn't have them in position, so these Banshees are going to kill a very respectable amount of drones. Already 12, 11 kills on the 13 kills actually on those Banshees, because one of those was a Zergling probably. Hellions didn't get much damage done, sadly, but still, I mean, look at this build, guys. We have the same amount of supply. Admittedly, he has a bank, right? So his supply is effectively higher, and we're going to kill even another drone over here. And yeah, really quite decent. I mean, the build, surprisingly good. And this was probably in the worst case scenario too, if we're being honest, right? Like, he defended everything perfectly, went for the blind roaches. I guess it could have been a little bit worse technically if he did make an upgrade instead of going for pure roaches, because my attack wasn't that committed in the end. Now he's going to go for everything at once. A hive, double upgrades, overlord speed, roach speed, also has the high infestation pit. obviously, because he needs that for the hive, right? But yeah, setting ourselves up pretty well for the timing attack. I think I could have made one adaptation to the build, and that is to build a factory on this tech lab right after the second Banshee finished, because all this time I kind of thought I would keep producing Banshees. The thing is that we didn't really have enough money for it at the time, especially adding these factories. You see, now I'm going to make another one, but I could have probably put a factory on there, and then maybe we would have had, I don't know, at least 1 or 2 extra tanks for the push, right? Now notice how the mind game part of the strategy is working very well, because my opponent is going for a hive and a spire. He wants to go for Brood Lords. Because with mech, you usually just sit there. But I actually just wanted to go for a Hellbat tank timing attack, right? So that's exactly what we're gonna do. Could have been nice if I denied a little bit more creep. As you can see, the tank count is just barely too small. If I just had a couple more tanks, or like really 1 or 2, it already would have been a pretty big difference, I think. Now, here's the big problem for me, is that since we're going for a Hellbat tank push, we don't actually have anti-air. And I do have to keep making tanks. So we're not going to have anti-air for the Broodlords that are going to come out. And you could also be making Mutalisk, of course. Now, we also don't have upgrades. Here, I siege very far forward, but I did that on purpose. He actually missed the third vial there. So those tanks were going to live a little longer. These things are actually doing a crazy amount of damage. Look at that. So many roaches getting absolutely decimated here. This base is going to die. 16 roaches on the way from him, saving this Banshee as well. And now I'm going to go around again. I could have also decided to push through here. Here's the Greater Spire, by the way. I could have pushed through here as well. But it's always a little scary to go and creep. I mean, Zerg always has so many reinforcements that you don't really want to dishonor across the creep. Now, he's going to go for the Mutas over here. 6 Mutas on the way, which is really unpleasant. Here, I fought on Siege actually completely knowingly, because it looks like we were just going to be able to take this fight perfectly fine. And I was right about that. Another good trade. But once again, we don't have the anti-air for the Mutas, and we are still pretty all-in at home. We have a couple command centers on the way, but we only have 1 upgrade. So we're very exposed here forward. Sadly for me, he made a very good economy. And so far, I mean, I was really thinking that we were doing fantastic here, but then I saw the Mutas, and this is when we're in a big problem, because we can't run away. If we unsiege and run away, he's going to attack our army, so I really felt that the only way here was to move forward. I'm making Thors behind it, really trying to get as much damage as possible sieging forward here, but this is exactly what I mean. I was on siege a little bit too much. He cleans up the army. He's going to get a 50 supply lead from this, and that is going to be it for game number 1. Now, was there an opportunity here? I actually surprisingly think there was, looking at this replay. I mean, if I magically knew that he was going to go for Mutas, I guess I could have scanned the main base, because the Banshee saw this part of the base, right? And I could have scanned the main base, maybe found a Spire there. I potentially could have backed off. Biggest problem is that I back off, I'm just going to be sitting back forever, and that is really not what you want. I mean, I don't have upgrades, I don't have, you know, a Ghost Academy or anything like that on the way, so I really wanted to make something happen. I think the Mutas were an incredibly clutch decision from him. Maybe if I backed off, let's say here, and I get 6 Thors and we go again, there could have been a chance. Usually, just from my personal experience, I don't want the games to take too long against Zerg when you play mech. With Bio, it feels a bit nicer. With mech, the problem is that your units get absolutely annihilated by spellcasters. So if you get a lot of Thors and he gets Infestors, you just kind of die, okay? Vipers are also incredibly good against mech. You can abduct Thors, they can blindly cloud tanks. So I really wanted to finish this game fast. I was hoping he wouldn't have the anti-air ready. Maybe a 6 Thor timing could have worked. Or let's say I made 1 round of Thors with 4 Tech Lab factories, right? 4 Thors. We go again. I actually think that could have worked. Maybe he wouldn't have had that many Infestors yet, or that many Broodlords, so that's the thing we could have done. For now, we lose game number 1. Let's go to game number 2. The second game against Lambo is going to be another very cool strategy. And what's really cool is that they suggested a strat, and they got it from a game that I actually remembered. It was a pro game from, I would say, take away maybe 3 to 5 years ago somewhere. I don't remember exactly. I feel like it was pretty close to my official retirement, so maybe 2022 or so, where TY played against Cyril, and he did a 2-1-1 build. Actually, wait, this was even in a team league before that, I think. This was probably even in it. Maybe that was 2019 even. It was quite a while ago, actually. Time goes fast. Yeah, he did a 2-1-1 against Cyril, which is a Marine medevac drop, 16 Marines with Stim. And then he followed it up by playing 2-port battlecruiser. Now, this build, honestly, I had completely forgotten about it, so I thought it was a very cool suggestion, and I thought it was a build that might actually work. Now, this map was a worse map for us than game number 1. In general, I have found this map a little difficult, I have to say. There's a lot of big maps that you kind of want to veto as Terran. Terran usually doesn't want to play on big maps unless it's like particularly, you know, some good chokes here and there. Like, for example, this area is really hard to attack into. You can see your tank here, but it's still really far away from a base, right? Like, you just want to be able to push fast and efficiently. A lot of airspace is nice for Terran, which this map also doesn't have. So the maps definitely have been a little difficult, but if you play battlecruisers, they can teleport across. So, in the end, I think it worked out for me perfectly fine. Now, this game, I took a little bit of a risk. I thought Lambo would not go for the pull first to blind counter some kind of proxy racks. I looked at the map. As you look at his Overlord movement, right? If you're a Zerg player, you should copy this, by the way. Like, he already pretty much covered every place a proxy racks can be. Because there's rocks over here, this entire area is not really an issue, right? So you can just send one Overlord like this. I mean, unless I build them here, that would have been freaking insane, by the way. So he already knows it's not a proxy racks. I felt like he would be able to confirm that easily enough. So I thought he wouldn't go for a pull first, and I could get away with not scouting. 2-on-1 for the ones that don't remember from back in the day. Very, very tight build order, okay? SCV Scout freaking ruins your build instantly. You can't afford it. So I really didn't want to have to do it. I took the small risk to not do it, and it paid off because he didn't go for a pull first. Now, the biggest problem with this build against pull first is that you don't even have the single Marine. So this build gets like... it gets really owned by it. Even more than, like, you know, the previous build would, right? Like, this would really struggle against that. So quite happy to see that he wasn't going for it. Now, the Overlord is going to stay around somewhere to the front of my base, as you can see over here. Actually, it seems to be his common Overlord path, right? Because I think the game before he also had it somewhere here. I just remember it going into the middle of my base on Winter Madness previous game. So, seems to be that's commonly how he does it. Now, I think I could have built my buildings a little bit further to the left here, actually thinking about it. I think it could have been nice to deny it, though. You can't really build, like, here, because then the Zergling might scout it if they run up to the ramp, so it's a little bit tricky. There's also some people that Overlord scout by sending it over here and sneaking by this side, because you don't have SCVs mining here yet. It really depends on the player you play against. Now, here he was able to confirm me playing 2-on-1. Don't really like that he was able to confirm that, but to be honest... seeing 2 Marines after a Reaper would have been pretty sus anyway, so I think he could have made that read. Now, we did get a pretty fat supply block from that. You see, that's the thing you don't see when you're playing right in first person. That's quite nice. That's a pretty nice supply block. Reaper is just trying to be annoying, just like last game. The circling speed has already finished, I believe, right? Yeah, exactly. So he's going to send the links across the map instead of dealing with the Reaper. Now, I have enough Marines to do something here. I don't think if you scout a 2-on-1, the game becomes a little too comfortable for the opponent, because... there's no Hellions, there's no Banshee, anything like that, so you don't have to defend at home. It's one of the rare builds where you don't have to make a Spore, even, okay? So, I think I definitely should do a little bit of a better job hiding it next time. However, since it's more about the follow-up than the first attack, because I'm going to go for BCs, you see he's already making a Bailing Nest too. I think it actually looks pretty alright here from the Observer POV, right? Like, he's making Banelings. The reason why he's making Banelings is because he's afraid that this could be a Hellbat attack, right? For the people that want to know how to do a Hellbat attack, and give you a little quick guide, it's very easy. This is what you do normally, 60 Marine drop. What you do with the Hellbat attack is that you just don't switch. You only make a single medevac. And then you make 4 Hellions instead, you add the armory, and then you have a 2-on-1 with 1 medevac instead of 2, but with 4 Hellbats, right? If they don't go for a Bailing Nest, really, really strong. Now, he's playing very, very careful here. Well, to be honest, not even careful. He's doing exactly what you should do against a 2-on-1, is he's making 8 Queens, which is a lot of Queens. And this was really quite nice for me. Now, I made a mistake over here. You guys haven't noticed it yet, I'm sure, because, I mean, I didn't show it, and it's very covert, I want to say. The mistake I made is that I started the reactor a little bit late. These medevacs should have been out on the map, I want to say 20 seconds earlier. And what I was afraid of is that that might make him suspicious of me going for the BCs. Now keep in mind, I killed the Overlord over here. That is very nice for the follow-up, because I'm doing this very out in the open, right? An Overlord flying in with scout everything. But for now, I'm feeling pretty... safe that I'm not going to get scouted. Now, he's about to have 8 Queens. He has 40 Lings. Didn't make any Bailings because he didn't see Hellions running across the map. So that is good by him. Now, here I realized he probably wanted to try and surround me with the Queens. Didn't want to fall for it. Instead, I tried to go for a little bit of a sneaky maneuver. Also, note to myself, could play fake 2-on-1 into Banshee, because this is like the first time I haven't seen blind spores in time, okay? I guess I would have to fly the Banshees all the way around the map, but I feel like I should have been able to get to I don't know, maybe 5-minute 30? You guys know I'm not a timing guy. I feel like the Banshee should have been able to arrive by now, and then I would have been able to kill a lot of drones. Whether that build is efficient enough, that's a whole different story. Now, once again, I'm doing a good job scaring him here, because he's making 6 additional Bailings, and I'm just making BCs. Now here, I can already tell you guys, I have already learned something. When you play against roaches, and when you play against... That's a really nice cancel, by the way, on the 4th base. That was almost finished, too. I didn't realize that was such a nice cancel, but it was like freaking... It wasn't a new base. He doesn't have another base built. Hey, that was a fantastic cancel. Nice. When you play against roaches and when you play against Ling Bane, the wind condition changes a little bit. And I'm going to be able to tell you guys more of that later on. Now, sadly for me, he still has all the links at home. Oh, look at this. This is actually super, super cool. So he moved the Spore to counter my 2-on-1. I realized the queens were here, so I already fell back. And now the Spore is going to be out of position for the BCs teleporting in, as you can see. It's about to finish the second BC. I was waiting for the second one over here. I started combat shields, but not stim. Now he's moving the Spore back. It's actually... That's the literal perfect timing. That is actually unreal what I just saw. Holy. The Spore finished burrowing like half a second before my BCs actually finished warping. And we're going to go for that Spore. Sadly, his queen with Transfuse did show up in time. But we're still going to be able to get a lot of damage done here. Spire is now being built over here. And that is pretty much the counter to this. Now, since the Zerglings are in the main, I'm going to be able to drop down here. 2 more BCs are going to be very important to go in. And now I'm going to start talking about a couple things that I wanted to mention before, right? About the roaches and Ling Bane. So when you play against roaches, they're always going to go on the counterattack, okay? So you have to kind of focus on dealing with the counterattack, which is really what I did. Right? I made a bunker over here. I got combat shields. I didn't get a tank yet, even though I probably should have if it was roaches. But when you play against Ling Bane, they can't really break you as easily, and they're going to be more focused on just droning, as you can see. So if you're going up against Ling Bane, what I should have done is focus a little more on the BCs. Like, I should have gotten Yamato instead of... Here, this is a really YOLO teleport, by the way, because I knew he would be building Corruptors, but I just thought that I had to do some damage here. So that's why we're going in here. BCs are still chilling over here. Now I have a BC 2-on-1 combo. Let's see how this action plays out, of course. We're not going to be able to kill the Spire, but we are going to be able to kill a significant amount of Queens. This is a very annoying combo, because if he... Do I have Stim, by the way? Yeah, I do have Stim. Okay, I was wondering there for a second. Because if he fights with the Ling Bane, the BCs are going to be able to take those down. This is going to be... Oh, sucks that he had the Spore over there. It's going to be a pretty annoying thing for him to have to deal with that. Now, the BCs did get teleported back. I think I saved both of those exactly on low HP. But he now is pretty far ahead in upgrades. He can rebuild those drones instantly. And even though his Ling Bailing count isn't that high yet, he does already have Bailing speed, so he can't easily move across. And this is... pretty much what I would have changed here, right? We get a kill on that base, not a cancel. So as you can see, there would have been a very slight chance that if I focused on my BCs 100%, right? So I got the BCs as fast as possible, did not wait for one with combat shields or whatever, maybe even skipped an SCV to make an earlier gas for the second BC, and then get Yamato right away. We might have been able to deny the Spire, and then I think we would have won this game instantly. Right now, I mean, I'm not saying the game is over, right? Obviously, we still have good chances here, but the game is definitely more tough. And now we're going to have to make more happen. So if you play against roaches, you don't necessarily have to rush the BCs. You kind of want to make sure you get some tanks out, actually. And maybe some more Marines with combat shields, like this is what I did here. And the reason why I played like that is because that's how TY played in that game against Serral. But if you play against Ling Bane, the counterattacks are not going to be as threatening. They need to save the gas for the Corruptor, so they can't even make that many Banelings. And for that reason, I think you have to kind of, not all in, but go really hard on the BCs so you can kill the Spire and win the game that way. So that's what I would change next time. Wait, what? Oh, okay, dude. I looked at this and I was like, did I forget my +1 attack? But no, it was just a contaminate. Oh my goodness, my heart actually skipped a beat there. I was like, no, Mark from the past, what have you done? But okay, now we have a very strong army. This is pretty much... Yeah, I guess you could call this an all-in of some sort. I wasn't planning to transition behind this. I have 2 factories. This one just finished. And I was just planning to go for a really massive attack over here. Now, I've played against Lambo a couple times recently. I know against Terran, he really, really likes to counterattack with Ling Bane, with like a really big army as well. So that's why I was very patient here. I just set up this siege. These units were actually not supposed to reinforce, but... I kept the tank siege at home, I kept Marines rallied nicely on this depot, and this should be a pretty decent defense. A couple more Marines could be used over here, so I sent those back, picked those up in the medevac. This was a really cool move that I liked, by the way, saving the SCVs with those 2 medevacs over there. That's 15 SCVs saved, which is very nice. And most importantly, my army is still intact. The biggest problem with this game, for now the upgrades are even, but +2 armor is going to be brutal to go up against. So he's going to fight at the front. I have my Marines over here. I have the battle cruisers as well. This fight actually seemed pretty decent so far. And now we're going to have to run away. I mean, the efficiency is really, really good so far here, right? 5k against 9. Did he just lose that? I probably hallucinated that, but it looked like he went down in resources lost there for a second. I'm not quite sure how that's possible, but it looked like it. Now I teleported the BCs over here. That was really mostly a distraction, doing some splitties over here. And now we're still in the situation where, yeah, we are pretty much just all in. We have to win with this push. Nothing really changed. We traded the BCs for distraction, for damage. We got some good trades. Now, Tutu is still a little bit far away, and he has a lot of money to make a lot of bailings, and that's going to be very, very painful. I probably should have used medevac boost to bring these 2 tanks across. A little bit of a detail here that would have been nice. Now, here's a couple bailings, not that many, but I saw these bailings morphing in the back. Now, he has a couple links in the back as well. Hopefully, we're not going to lose this tank. We won't. Okay, so that's good attention by us. Now, he's probably just going to keep threatening the counterattack, which is exactly what you need to do. That's why I put Marines in the bunker over here. Going to slowly siege forward. One thing I could have done was to make sensor towers and bunkers on this high ground, actually. The reason why that would have been a decent idea is because his hive is still not done yet, so ultras are not on the way. The reason why these Marines were so far out in the concave is because I realized he was about to converge. Well, at this point, he just had too many units, and we didn't have the 2-2 yet against this +2 armor, and that's going to be it for game number 2. Now, this build, I would say, probably a little bit weaker than the last one. I feel like the margins were very, very slim, right? Like, if we go back to the moment where the BCs teleported in, I think it should be roughly around here, where the BCs teleported in on the Spire. I mean, I could have made them probably, like, you see the second BC is just a little bit later, so maybe if I did the build, like, slightly better, could have cut a couple SCVs, get the gas faster, because it was the first wave of BCs as well. And then not get any upgrades, but just get Yamato right away. Then we would have been able to teleport in here. I want to say maybe like 10 seconds before the Spire finishes with 2 Yamatos. Let's see. Yeah, this is when the BC finished, right? So we would have been able to teleport 2 BCs now with Yamato. I think we would have actually killed the Spire, and then we're legit the favorite to win this game all of a sudden. So margins, very, very, very slim. Obviously, another situation is Spire could have been faster, but we could have won here if I just made that adaptation to go a bit harder on the BCs against the Lingbane. Still, really fantastic series. Really like the builds. Cool, creative builds. Nicely in the mid-game where like a little bit of harassment, 1-2 punch, the stuff I like. Sadly, we lost, but I think we did our best. The Diamond Cooks did their best. Now let's go up to the series against Gerald with the Master League Chefs. And this is also the most infamous series of the tournament. Got a lot of comments from my homies. Shout out to anyone that showed up, by the way. It was really fun meeting you guys. But yeah, everyone, I think fan or not fan, they really, really love this series. Especially the final game. I'm not going to spoil it yet. But in my opinion, guys, you know, I was actually thinking of having you guys vote for what your favorite cooked up build was. But I'm going to already tell you guys that this is my favorite one. So I think I'll skew the results a little bit of that. Anyway, let me know. Maybe I could hit up the guy of your favorite build and we could do like cool episode where I do like only his builds and cheeses, for example. That'd be really fun. But this one really was my favorite. So this was, I want to say, the least cheesy opener of all of them. It was just an extremely weird build, but it's crazy, but for some reason it worked. And I swear, like the moment I saw it, I was like, oh my god, this looks cool. I tried it against the AI, looked incredibly cool. So basically this build is extreme greed, but in a different way. This build is 2-minute 50 double engineering bay. Okay, the fastest upgrades ever. This game is going to have some absolutely ridiculously looking fights because the upgrades are going to be so incredibly mismatched. With this build, you have 3-3 at 10 minutes. Okay, something like that. Like, it's absolutely absurd. Now, the build is really greedy, but to me in this meta, it actually makes sense. So the reason why I think it makes sense is because kind of against Protoss right now, you really want to sit back a lot, assuming you play a normal game, right? So you could do that by you know, you go for a 3cc and then you build a lot of stuff here. Or you can just get the upgrade super fast and sit on 2 bases for a little bit. Now, I obviously don't want to just sit back forever and do things like that. Not my jam at all. You guys know me. So I used the build and I change it into a timing attack where you have 2-2 super fast. It's going to be like a 730 2-2 timing attack or something ridiculous. Like absolutely insane. Beautiful, beautiful build. You guys are going to see how I execute this. Really, if you guys are going to copy a build from this, I would love for you guys to try this one. It's a bit more macro heavy, of course. If that's not your taste, then I imagine you want to try some of the others. In particular, the last game, once again. But yeah, this build really gave me a lot of joy. I was excited from the moment I read it. I tried the build. Looked absolutely epic. And then here we are executing it against Gerald. So far, everything looks completely normal. It's the most standard opening you can imagine, right? Bunker down here, command center, Reaper, Marine, factory. Very sneaky move by him, by the way. Ignoring the Reaper to sneak out with the Stalker. I guess he was probably hoping that I wouldn't make a bunker. Did actually build one. And now the switch up is going to arrive. And the switch up is going to be that double engineering bay, like I mentioned. We're not going to be able to afford much from this. There they are, 255 double engineering bay, absolutely insane. Now here I was a little bit annoyed with myself for losing that Reaper, unfortunately. Very close to saving it with the grenade, by the way. But I do lose it in the end. Not the biggest deal ever, to be honest, but it's just... It's one of those annoying things, you know, we had a couple losses already, I was already quite tired as well. A lot of games being played and losing the Reaper first thing in the series, not ideal. But obviously, in the end, it is just the Reaper. Now, he kept this Stalker here for way too long, so that is not going to be very nice for him at all. He is going to be losing that Stalker, and that is really nice for me. Gotta make sure I don't lose a Marine for it, though, of course. There we go, Stalker's going to fall. All it really did was delay a little bit, save the SCV with the bunker, and in the end, you know, we've pretty much traded a little bit of mining time for a Stalker there. Sadly, we lost the Reaper, otherwise maybe we would have been able to go in here. Opponent's going for Blink. Quite happy with what I'm seeing here. Obviously, I am observing it now. You don't know those things when you're playing the game. But I'm happy to see that he went for 2 extra gateways. Worst case scenario would have been, I think, a really fast sentry. So I'm talking like even second unit sentry, okay? And only 2 gate blink and then a 3rd base. The reason why is because the sentry scouts the double NG bay and then they can do so many different responses. Right now, he was already pretty much locked into his build, right? He already went for the 3 gates. He already made 5 gateway units. This is his 6th one. Because he's just, like, you can actually skip all of those things if you see the double eBay very early. Actually, at this point, yeah, I think he's about to see it. Yeah, he didn't see it initially, but now he sees it. He already did his entire build, okay? He already made all these units. He would have been able to skip, like, quite literally every single one of them, besides the Adept, the Sentry, and the 2nd Stalker. Or sorry, just 2 Stalkers and the 1st Sentry, in case he would be doing that build. Instead, 3 more gateway units, 1 extra gateway, and a delayed 3rd. And I would say that's a really good start for us. Now, I have no idea what he's looking for, to be honest, because... Yeah, I mean, there's... I mean, he stole my base, right? Like, I don't know how much he... Terran is not that rich, okay? I can't go 3 racks, double eBay, all this kind of crap, and then still have something in the corner of the base. It's actually kind of a funny move by him. I'm quite puzzled. Double battery? He made 3... Guys, he saw absolutely everything. I'm not sure what he's responding to be honest. The first battery, he built this battery already, but since then he built 2 more batteries, scouted the entire map. You know what I think happened here, guys? I think he saw that there was no starport and thought that somehow I should have been able to afford both eBays and the starport. I think he just saw there was a missing starport, and now he's checking the entire map for it, but obviously there was no way I could have afforded that. So now I see what's going on here. This was actually quite a good situation for me. Look at the status of the upgrades, guys. I'm not kidding. This is 2-2. 5 minute 30. This is not 1-1 that started here. It's freaking 2-2. His forge is not even finished, and my 2-2 is already started. We're gonna have 2-2 against +1 either attack or armor, zealots and stalkers, and that's gonna be very, very, very brutal for him. Now, just so you guys know, the massive weakness of this build is obviously just classic blink aggression, right? Like a 4-gate blink, 3-gate blink with prism on 2 base before the 3rd, that is. You should probably not be able to defend it. You can adapt the build a little bit, so you're going to have like a couple tanks or something like that, but besides that, I think it's a magnificent build. I really liked that it was suggested against Gerald specifically, because the other two Protoss players in my group, Nightmare and Zaun, I think they're a bit more on the aggressive side, especially Nightmare, I would say. Now, obviously, in that series, I was the aggressor, right? But normally speaking. But Gerald is a little bit more of a passive guy. He likes to do his openings, the same openings every time. Now, it's very interesting to see what his response to this is. So, first of all, just straight up, I think the batteries and the scouting was just a mistake. I can't put it any other way. And I'm actually curious if he saw this. Was he paying attention to that? He did see the two medevacs. Yeah, okay, he did see that. I didn't actually remember that moment. So his response was, first of all, to play a bit safe, which is, in my opinion, the mistake, right? And then, this makes complete sense. He's going for 10-gate Storm. The reason why he's doing that is because he wants to kind of all-in me, right? So he went for 66 workers, taking the 4th base. He's not making a lot of upgrades, no Robo-Bay yet. He just wants to get a really big army and either crush my attack or A-move my 3rd base. That's basically the idea for him. Now, this is the timing I was talking about. 7:30, it's a little bit later. This drop was supposed to go in the main, but I unloaded it because I was afraid that it would get blinked on, because I also did see the Stalker over here. Look at the timing here, guys. 2-2. Medevacs in the main, they would have hit exactly with 2-2, I'm pretty sure, but now we have an army over here. These units are unreasonably strong compared to what they're supposed to be. Like, you're going to be surprised. Right now, it's 2-2 against 0-0. By the time we fight, it's obviously going to be 2-2 against +1. These units are really unreasonably strong. You can stay around for much longer than you usually can. At the same time, I know I don't have a 3rd base yet, landed on location. But he also doesn't have a 4th base yet, so that's okay. Now, I stuck around here for a little bit, because once again, my units are going to be so strong against the Zealots. Like, these Zealots are supposed to destroy my Marines, but they actually really aren't. Now, he stormed, so I'm just going to pick up and leave. Also got a pretty decent trade over here, I believe. All in all, unit trade is about, double as many units lost. Resources lost, I should say, for the opponent, so that's really good. Got to be a little careful here. Sometimes I go a little bit too wild. Now, I was expecting him to counterattack with Zealots, to be honest, so I landed my 3rd a little bit late. If I had full vision, that base would have been chilling already, but sadly it wasn't. Now, I haven't started 3-3 yet, because I wasn't sure how the game was really progressing. Like, it's pretty hard to tell some of the details. I didn't know if he already had a Robo-Bay. I didn't know if he was upgrading from Double Forge, right? I didn't know if he had taken maybe this 4th base in the middle, which is pretty reasonable as well, if you're not playing against siege tanks. Now, at this moment, I started to feel like it really was going to be a macro game, so there it is. +3 attack. I said it could finish at 10 minutes. I think that is a slight overestimation. I think it should be 10:30 if you make them instantly, which is very, very possible. Here, I made them later because I wasn't sure, so it's going to be a good while later, but it's still obviously super, super, super fast. Opponent is still on only +1. I'm doing a little drop over here. The only reason this drop is okay is, once again, because these units are so good against Zealots, right? Like, normally you cannot take trades like that against Zealots, even if, when they're this low HP, no medevac healing, that's going to be a little bit painful. Now, I'm really just trying to attack everywhere and make use of my upgrades with the trades. This medevac survives, the other one falls. Now, I did something else funny that I only do against Gerald, basically, that I started doing against other Protoss players because I've been doing it against Gerald and it works. And that's getting a planetary on the 3rd base. Planetary on the 3rd base, pretty ridiculous move. It's something that you'll most likely see in like bronze games and stuff. You want an orbital because you want economy, right? You really do need the mules for that. And here I was trying to bait this storm. I think I actually did so pretty successfully. Exactly. Gerald likes to right-click Zealots and not pay attention to them at all. So I figured it would be a good idea to just make a planetary there. Now, as you can see, no upgrades yet. He is still very, very all-in. No probes yet on this 4th base whatsoever. Only +1. He made 1,000,000 Templars, and now he's going to try to attack into this. But this is where the planetary is really going to come in handy. So it's 1,000,000 storms. I'm going to have to be careful, but the upgrades are so good that I actually can fight pretty decently. Now, I think the micro here was actually really quite good for me. I think I dodged all of the storms really quite well. And here I'm going to walk into the storm again. That's a little bit of muscle memory because the storm usually ends faster than you would expecting. And we just absolutely annihilate him. And this fight, I think, probably would have traded pretty poorly. I think we would have won the fight, even if the upgrades weren't this ridiculous, but we would have been behind for sure. Like, look at the worker count here, right? 50 against 70. If these units would have died, we would have been in a tough spot. But now we have a bigger army. Obviously, he has way more tech, right? He has, what is that, 7 High Templars he just warped in, I believe? Or 6? Yeah, 7 High Templars he just warped in. He's working on Colossus. But now I still have 2-2 against +1. So this is just going to be brutal kiting over and over. The only thing he can really do is drop storms. But then again, if my units aren't already low, I can kind of run out of them. +3 attack is about to finish against his +1 armor. And that's when the fun is really going to begin. I'm going to make another base over here. This one I'm also going to turn into a planetary, by the way. The thing is, I just want to have my units out on the map, you know? I don't want to be sitting back home and defend with my good upgrades. No, I want to just F2, all armor hotkey, just go across the map. Well, not quite like that. I was more kind of wanting to split push, you know? Reinforcements go to this side. This army goes to the right side. And yeah, we are about to have 3-3. We already have +3 attack, but 3-3 is going to be so much fun. You guys are about to see it. I have never seen Terran units be this strong before, okay? I don't know if it's ever happened. Like, these upgrades are so ridiculous. I feel like if it would have happened, it would have been in my game, because I usually... Look how fast they die! It's actually ridiculous! Even this Arca, look, he just gets one shot! Like, bio units shoot so often, they have a really high rate of fire, that the upgrades really matter a lot. If you're down, that's why Zerg, for example, plays really fast armor upgrades these days, because your units just don't do damage to them. Even with Reapers, by the way, because Reaper have 2 attacks. But if you're up in upgrades, they just kill everything instantly. That Colossus is gone. The Zealots also just... I have never seen it. Like, Zealots are such a big problem in PvT these days. Zealots have really been owning so many Terrans. I've also never had fights like this where I'm just not even paying attention because I'm busy splitting over here. Monster split, as you can see, dodging the storms. And without looking, my army has killed absolutely everything. Zealots also have 2 attacks, by the way, so they also do way less damage when you have the armor. +3 armor. Look at this. Everywhere I'm looking, my units are just not died. Not even this 1 HP Marauder died. Everything got absolutely obliterated. And with my favorite build of the day, we take game number 1 against Gerald. And what an absolute... Guys, it's so freaking beautiful. I love the idea. I tested it. I love the build. And I'm so happy that it looked like this against a very strong player. Normally at these supplies, I'm going to be honest, I would not be confident against the Protoss, okay? I think playing against Protoss is really, really hard. They start trading, and they have more economy than you typically. This game as well, right? More economy. So if you start trading just a little bit okay, it's like another 12 Zealots and another 12 Zealots, and it becomes very, very tough. But I have never felt this comfortable. Like, it was so nice being able to just attack in places and know that his units would not damage me. It felt like I was playing with cheats on or something. Absolutely beautiful game number 1. Let's keep it going. Game number 2 was on White Rabbit, and for this game, we are going to be playing Zerg. Really, really loved every single strategy they suggested this series. This one... probably the craziest one somehow in between the others. That's kind of funny. You guys will see why. This strategy is 1 base Swarmos Nidus. Okay? Now, I know that normally some of you would think, is that maybe like a little too much? Like, is that really a strategy that can work? Well, I looked at some evidence, and I thought that there would be a chance. I mean, it's a really crazy build, and you never freaking know, right? So this is a build that, as far as I know, Pig started doing it because he got it from a Grandmaster Zerg on the ladder, I believe. The guy that suggested it to me said it was Mio Maika's build, who is a very well-known Vietnamese mega cheeser, okay? Super good cheesy Zerg. So yeah, it's probably his build. But anyway, I thought it was pretty cool, so I'm gonna do it. I didn't have a lot of time to practice it, and it's a pretty hard build for me. I mean, I'm not really used to using Swarm Host. I don't really use Niduses very much. I was a little bit afraid of, like, stuff sneaking into my base while I'm busy doing a 1-base Swarmos Nidus. So they wrote down the build for me very carefully, and I was just like, I did it once against the AI. Let's freaking do it, you know? Actually, in fact, I was practicing this build when I saw... So there were 2 booths, right? I was next to Zaun and Kelazur. On the other side were Gerald, Lambo, and Nightmare. But when I was practicing this build, I saw Gerald come in the booth to say hello. So I just quickly on tab. Nothing going on here. Don't worry about it. But yeah, very excited for this one as well, for sure. So I guess basically the idea is that you get one... It's just... First of all, it's a ridiculous build, okay? It's just not something they're going to expect you doing. It's that level of weird, right? So they're not going to have the correct response. And depending on their response, I feel like you could win either easily or it could be very, very, very difficult. It really... There's a lot of potential there. So he sees I'm on 1 base. What he does is he doesn't make the Nexus. Instead, he goes for the 2nd gateway. That I already like because I don't think that the 2nd gateway unit should be able to do anything. I mean, first of all, he should stay at home with the Zealot. Okay, if he sends it across, not having any idea what he's doing is pretty crazy. He goes for a 1-base Stargate as well. So pretty much, you're going to have 3 or 4 Swarmos with the first Nidus and 2 Queens. 2 Queens are enough to beat an Oracle and a Void Ray, but it can be a little tricky because you need to defend your main base against like Adepts. You need to make sure that you have a Spore Crawler against like one Oracle. It's going to kill like every single Zergling. It's not that easy. Now we actually managed to block the probe, which is pretty insane. I don't think... Yeah, he didn't even see the lair, which is crazy. Like, when would you expect someone to do this, right? It's just insane. Now, my Overlords, I'm sending them across all over the place. This one went to the natural, so I could do a Nidus maybe here, or here, or here, wherever, right? And the other one was going to go towards the main base. I kind of expected the first time I did this build that a third Overlord would have arrived in time as well, but that was sadly not the case. Oh, now this was a little bit of a mistake by me, actually. I thought it was safely on the pillar, but it wasn't. So, and then what I figured was that he would never go out to kill that Overlord because it's just incredibly risky to do against someone that's on one base. Like, this is a psycho move, okay? Let me tell you guys that. That is an absolute psycho move, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm going to get the Nidus up here anyway, right? Actually, that Void Ray is very close to finishing already. Let's see. Nidus going to start instantly, I hope. Whenever I have money, I guess. What does a Nidus cost? 75 or something? I guess something like that. Okay, so the Nidus is going down here. Void Ray is going to the front. He didn't actually see it right away. Let's see if I actually have... Yeah, I have 2 Queens, 4 Swarmos, so he's going to go for the Nidus. He's going to turn Prismatic Alignment on, and he's going to be able to get a good amount of damage done on it. I actually managed to get the Transfuse there, and now I'm going to get my Locust out. As you can see, Queen's very, very good against the Void Rays. Now the Locusts are going to be very efficient against the probes as well. And now I just need to make sure to get another Nidus up here, exactly. The Locusts really last quite a while. Now, one thing that I was a bit late on was the third Queen, I believe. That Queen could have been a little bit faster. Here, Queen is fighting against the Void Ray. As you can see, the Void Ray is struggling. Now, this was a big mistake by me here. I thought my Swarmos would kind of fit into there, but they actually didn't. Now, right now, my opponent's not mining at all. Like, literally at all. Look at the income graph over there. Actually, 0 mining. So what I decided to do was just keep Nidusing and run these around as a distraction. His second unit was an Oracle. I'm actually surprised he didn't activate it on it, because at some point this is going to recharge, and it's going to be a little annoying for him. I have 1 Queen right now, which is not quite enough. Maybe we can get that Stalker. That would be absolutely beautiful if we can. Now we have a couple more units at the front. And now, at this point, to be honest, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to use my Locust on. It's really a pretty difficult thing, right? Like, maybe I could have gone for the probes right away or something. I really wasn't quite sure. Now, it seems like my Swarmos actually killed the Stalker that was in the main base, funnily enough. Now, he tried to run with the Stalkers, probably go towards the third base, but instead he loses another Stalker. Now, he's sending an Oracle to my base, but I have Queens in the Nidus over here. Another Nidus is going to go down in the natural. Or sorry, in the main base, rather. Now, he has a Zealot, and he's going to pull probes. My Queens take care of that Oracle very nicely. That is great. Now, can I actually get units out here? That is the question. The Void Ray is already very close, so I decided not to. Probably would have been a waste to exit them there. And now our momentum is kind of gone. We do have 3 Queens again, which is really, really very nice. Oracle took a lot of damage from that Queen, from those 2 Queens actually, and I don't think it's really been able to do a whole lot. Right now he has 1 kill. For a second I thought we were gonna get it. Barely don't get it actually. Now we have the Swarmos back. Gotta make sure to get the Queens out first. That was once again a little bit of a mistake. Like I said, it's really quite hard for me when I'm not used to playing Niduses and things like that. Now surprisingly he went for the Overseer. Almost lost his freaking Void Ray because of it. Now, losing that 1 Queen is painful because I had the Transfuses available for it, but sadly, the other 2 Queens didn't get out of the base in time because they were busy with that Oracle over here. Now, I got a little bit supply blocked as well. Now, the Queens have to run back. Well, I'm trying to body block him with my Swarmos as well, which is incredibly funny, to be honest, but sadly, that didn't happen. Now, I did get the Nidus up over here, but I don't think you can see it in the bottom right. There's like a little logo over here. They didn't actually recharge in time. If I got a wave up there, that would have been very, very nice, but he's going to deny the Nidus. Also got a Stasis Ward down on my workers over here, and the 1-base Swarmos is going to fail. But man, I really think if I practice this build like 2 times more, I actually think I would have won this game, because you get really, really close. If I was just a little more clutch on the micro, if I didn't mess up with my Overlord here and maybe just hit it here from the start instead of having it risky be on a pillar, If I didn't lose the queen over at the front, stuff like that, I think we actually would have won this game because it was incredibly close right now. Obviously, we didn't really have a chance anymore, right? My queens were hunting down the oracle. Actually, I guess they stopped. They got desperate and they didn't believe in the cause anymore. But yeah, in my opinion, incredibly close game. We definitely had our chances here, but GG is going to have to be called, and Gerald wins game number 2. Now, to be honest, this is the kind of game where I don't think he's going to be happy despite winning. Because let's be honest, he feels like he's in a YouTube video. First, he loses to 3-3 at 11 minutes or whatever it was. Then he almost loses to a 1-base Swarmos Nidus. At this point, he was already in a little bit of trouble in the group. Actually, I think he lost his first 3 series as well, just like me. So he was in a little bit of trouble, and this was like his way. Like, if he beat me and the next opponent, maybe you could still win like $100 or something. And then there's freaking rat gameplay out here with his upgrade rushes and his 1-base Swarmos. But there's still a delicious game 3 waiting, and I don't want to keep you guys waiting any longer. Game 3 is going to be on Taito Citadel. One of my least favorite maps, actually. So you're probably wondering, why are you playing this one? And the reason is that there were only 2 maps in the map pool that had what I was looking for. And that is a lot of space in the main base where you can land a barracks. Because the final strategy of this best of 3 is going to be proxy ghost landing it in the base. Now, it's obviously a bit of a uThermal classic. I have done it outside of the base, inside of the base. But for this game, the master specifically wanted me to build a barracks, land it in the base, and make ghosts. Now, if you've never seen this strategy before, you think it's hella dumb. If you've seen it, you might also think that, but it is actually a pretty good build, to be honest. And the reason why I needed this is because on a lot of maps, Protoss players will wall the Reaper Cliff, right? Because you would think you can do this on every map, but if Protoss walls the Reaper Cliff, let's say their vision would be around here. If you don't have this extra space on the map, you cannot lift it into their base without being seen with the Reaper wall. So just to not, make it too ridiculous, I was looking for a map where I could do it. There were only 2 options. This was the best one. And that is literally the only reason I did not veto this map, because I would not want to play this map in any other circumstance. I freaking hate this map, actually. I think this map, it's just, it's not necessarily that the map is bad. It's just bad for Terran, I think. It's too big and you can't take your 4th base. At this base, it's a nightmare, okay? So here we go. Barracks is flying into the base. Ghost Academy is being built. My base has been scouted. Right now, I would say that this probably looks like a... Well, okay, first he probably thought it was Proxy Reaper into Proxy Double Proxy Reaper into Factory at Home, or a Proxy Double Marauder. Since he doesn't see the Factory, he's now going to assume that it is indeed going to be the Double Proxy Marauder, and that's why he's adding a second gateway. Taking a Nexus against Proxy Double Marauder is very, very tough. Now, notice the Zealot, guys. The Zealot is going across the map. This makes me think that he does indeed believe that is a Proxy 2... He either thinks it's Proxy 2X Marauder or a really stupid build, and... in his category of stupid builds, he does not have Proxy Ghost listed, because he's not prepared for this. This was a bit of an unfortunate moment for him. He built a pylon, so I wouldn't be able to wall it off, but then he misplaced it, so he had to cancel it. I was like, whatever, and I still didn't wall off anyway. But this is where the magic is going to begin, guys. If you're wondering why this is a decent build, it's because you can do this. EMP on the probes, followed by one-shotting them. Now, what was good for him is that he had the wall off here. Ideally, I would have been able to walk in like this. Had to go a little bit further around, and you can see it already unfold, guys. He only just started his Nexus, but he's already down 5 workers. Now, the probes are coming back, so we can target fire down those probes. He is not mining a single mineral right now, and I think this Ghost is going to kill 10 probes, maybe 11. 11 workers killed. Now, you would think the fun is over, because there is a battery. Now, there are a Zealot and a Stalker on the other side of the map being annoying, so I have to deal with that as well. Now, this is what you do, guys. You wait for the battery to finish, and then... boom! You EMP the battery as well. He does have energy for an energy recharge right now that he could use, but he's probably too busy focused over here. This Ghost kills another 7 probes, I believe. At this point, he has 6 probes left. I get a surround on the freaking Stalker as well, which is used as Hellion is going to take down the Zealot. And here comes another Ghost. Now, look at this, guys. He has recharged his battery, but he moved the Stalker too close to the battery, so I was able to EMP both of them, the battery and the Stalker. Now, Stalkers are very good against Ghost, but Ghost recently got an HP buff. And because of the HP buff, this Ghost is barely going to win. He's going to chase me with his probes, but the Ghost can kite and run away. A single G is called. And just like that, the Master Leaguers, the Master League cooks, have delivered us our first dub in the tournament. A 2-1 against Gerald, a roughly 6.3k MR Protoss player. First game, we won with the beautiful double upgrade rush made by Divination. Second game, we had a very competitive game with the one base Swarmos Nidus of all things. And the third game, we honestly obliterate him with the beautiful proxy ghost landing it in the base. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, guys. These creative cheeses, I know I've done them before. This one, not the other two actually, but this one I have. But some of these cheeses are just so freaking epic, you have to do them again. Thank you so much to the Masters for the suggestions. But we are not done left. We have one final series against Zaun, the top player in the group, with the Grandmaster Cooks in the lead. Okay, the final series of the group stage is going to be against Zaun, top 5 Protoss player in the world, roughly. I don't have the exact rankings in my head. There's like a very solid top 3, Hero, Max Packs, and Classic. And then beyond that, I guess there's a couple Protoss players that are about the same, and Zaun is one of them. Maybe he's the 4th best Protoss or the 7th, I'm not quite sure, but he's somewhere around there anyway. And this series is going to be led by the Grandmaster Cooks, like I mentioned. And I can tell you for sure that for this series, I got the most elaborated and well thought out builds. They spent a lot of time discussing. It wasn't always easy for them to come up with the builds. They were kind of like, I rather want to see this build, and they would rather want to see this build, and this one is cool, and then the other guy's like, I'm not sure if that will work. So they really, put a lot of effort, so shout out to the guys. In the end, we got 3 very interesting builds. Definitely a lot more normal than a lot of the other builds. That's what I can say for sure. Still very, very interesting, though. So for this one, they basically came up with an extremely mind-gamey semi-all-in. That's, I guess, how I would describe it. So PvP has 2 openers. You can either go Reaper Expand or you can go Double Gas, standard speaking, right? Double Gas, most of the time these days, I feel like I see it used to make 5 units from the barracks and factory. So you get 3 Reapers, 2 Hellions, put on some pressure. With this build, we're kind of just going to pretend we're playing a normal Double Gas, and then we're going to cut SCVs, stop making units from the barracks right away, get a reactor instead, and then we're going to hit a super fast Marine tank push. That's basically the idea here. Then there is a follow-up to that. We're going to make a 2nd and 3rd barracks and stuff. I think the timing on those was about 5:30 as written in the build. I have no idea if that's going to come to fruition or not, to be honest, but you have to do some damage with the attack. If we're going to cut SCVs, if we're going to do this from a less economic opening like the Double Gas, you need to get some damage done. So it's a very committed attack. Not actually something that I've done before. Most of my attacks are just freaking hyper vicious, Either I proxy or do something insane or just go absolutely hardcore all in with all the SCVs. This is a little different. Gonna hit super fast, but with a couple SCVs instead of a little later, mid-game-ish, but with 12 SCVs or whatever, right? Like, it's a pretty big difference there. Okay, so he's gonna make a battery in the main base. For the most, I don't really know what his playstyle is, but for the most part, every Protoss plays Blink virtually every game. Hero, who is, in my opinion, the best Protoss player in the world, potentially the best player even, absolutely amazing player, love watching his games. He does play Stargate sometimes, he really switches it up. Most other Protoss players honestly just don't. You'll see Stargate sometimes. I feel like it's more mind games than anything else, really. You see Stargates, but yeah, it's really mostly just going to be Blink. So that's kind of what I was counting on. Now, he actually scouted the entire left side of the map, I just noticed. I was wondering in the game why on earth there was a probe here. I was looking for a scouting probe, but then I found it here, coming from here. Apparently, he scouted the entire left side, and I'm kind of curious why he did scout that. My build is not suspicious, but he was probably aware that I was going to do something stupid, right? That's the main explanation here. I think he probably didn't know what kind of stupid thing I was going to do, but he knew it was going to be stupid. So at this point, I've already cut SCVs a decent amount, so I could make sure to get these units out. The order of the build is that you get the Cyclone, then the tank, then the medevac. The reason why is because a tank takes 2 seconds longer to build than a medevac. So the timing works out just perfectly if you do it like this, right? As you can see, it worked out with money as well. Can't even afford my orbital, right? This build, really, you need to get a lot of damage done, because the economy of this is terrible afterwards. So he's going to go for a 3-gate blink. I'm scouting this with my Reaper, obviously nothing crazy. Also get to see the Robo there, which is nice. So this build is not ideal. What we would have preferred to see was a 3rd Nexus instead of that Robo. Or even ideally instead of the 3rd gate. That would have been absolutely perfect. There's a lot of Protoss players that play like that. This time wasn't going to happen. So in the end, we're going to have 8 Marines, and the rest, I think this build was supposed to hit with 6 Marines, so either I cut too many SCVs, allowing me to have 2 extra Marines, or I did something else slightly wrong, I'm not quite sure. But in the end, we're going to hit quite hard. Opponent has 4 units for now. I think his Hallucinated Phoenix sold a medevac, so he's going to start another battery. They're always going to have to be super, super careful here. Blink is not yet finished, and that's going to make this a lot more comfortable. Brother going to go for the Cyclone right away. Indeed, still got that lock on though. Barely not going to kill a Stalker, I believe. No, that would have been a beautiful Stalker kill, but we're not going to get it. I do lose a Reaper. But this was a very good start to the fight. Mostly because normally you don't get in position this easily. It's pretty hard to get in position. Now, I'm not kidding, guys. If this was a 3rd Nexus build before Robo, I would have been... Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like 100% sure we were going to win, but I think we would have had a very good chance. Now with the Immortal, it's going to be pretty scary because he has a lot of Blink Stalkers and he has the Immortal as well. Sucks for me that he had the clarity of mind to actually rebuild those pylons, else it would have been a pretty nasty supply block. Now, because he went there with the Stalkers, I'm not going to be able to reinforce with the tank. That is unfortunate. Now, I unsiege the tank here to move it a little bit closer to the bunkers, but that's actually when he went for it, so that was quite unfortunate for me. He also does have blink, so he's going to be able to blink on top. My bunkers are going to finish, so I'm going to try to get in, but instead he blinks in between the units, uses his force field as well, and is going to be able to stop the attack. Medevac does escape with 5 Marines, and it is likely to escape, but not entirely sure. Now, sadly for me, I can't salvage these bunkers anymore on dispatch. Salvage is cancelled when you take damage. And here we are. If my Marines got in those bunkers, I think we would have found ourselves quite ahead. Now, I actually don't know. I mean, you guys tell me, right? So the thing is, even though I killed the Nexus, he only has mining for 22 workers. Well, yeah, I mean, and all these guys doing long-distance mining, right? He does have another Nexus building, and he has another Nexus building. The reason why he can do that is because he doesn't have to be afraid of anything. He just killed my entire army. He can pressure me for free with 11 Stalkers, and his economy is going to take off pretty fast. It is really quite difficult to say what the situation of this game is right now. I think ideally we just get Stim, and we get a nice timing attack going. I think that would be perfect. Oh, I thought I was going to get that Stalker as well for a second. Now, I guess for now, we're still going to be in a good spot. At least it's going to look like it. And then he's going to get triple Chrono Boost on the Nexus. And then we're going to see what it looks like, right? It's always so interesting from the Observer POV. Sometimes you feel like you're dead and then you're doing amazing. Sometimes you're doing amazing, but you feel like you're dead. And you don't really know until you watch the replay and you combine those things. So pretty much the plan from the back of this was just to go for a big timing attack. Yeah, just, you know, Stim combat shields, maybe even concussive cells. +1 attack would have been great, but that's going to be slightly delayed. Not quite sure if I'm going to be able to hit that. Now, I switched over the factory to the tech lab. The reason I did this is because I knew he had a robo. So I thought it was quite likely he would actually be able to get Colossus out. Now, from the Observer POV, I can see that he is going for charge slots, and he's not making a robo bay. At least not yet. So maybe I would have preferred Widowmite. Now, he's still going to go for the Colossus. And honestly, looking at the situation right now, I would say that we are definitely a little behind here. It's already 50 workers. Base is already finished. Charge is going to finish by the time I would attack. He would have 1 Immortal. And he could even have 1 Colossus out. So I think after that attack, definitely going to find ourselves a little bit behind. If I got those Marines in those bunkers, I'm sure we would have been at least a little bit ahead, because then he would have lost a bunch of probes, would have lost a bunch more Stalkers, right? Maybe he wouldn't even have broken them right away, so that would have delayed his Nexus. Maybe because he lost extra probes, he wouldn't have been able to make the 3rd Nexus, etc. So that was really a super pivotal moment. And one thing was a mistake by me, moving that tank forward at an inopportune moment. I mean, it was a bit unfortunate. I was just trying to cover it because I didn't know exactly how many Stalkers were behind my tanks, right? I was mostly just trying to get my tank closer to the bunkers, but I did it a bit too fast, so his Nexus saw the tank and then he just went for it right away. And then the second part, that was not my mistake, was that he did super well blinking in front of the bunkers. Like, that was extremely well done. Just credit where credit's due. Force field blinking in front of the bunkers. That was really nice. And yeah, now we're going to have to indeed play this game from behind. I guess in the game, judging from how I'm playing, I did realize I was behind actually, because otherwise I would have moved out already. And let's see what he has. 6 Zealots, 9 Stalkers. He also has 8 Gateways. Yeah, this is kind of where TVP gets really hard. You have some opportunities to push, but at some point you just have to sit back. And I don't like sitting back, so I'm going to push anyway. And that can create a little bit of trouble. I actually went for the 2nd engineering bay here really fast, by the way, and that is purely inspired by that game you saw earlier against Gerald. I was thinking getting the super high upgrade count very fast was really nice. I'm just going to try that again. So he's going to see my medevacs over here. Obviously, these are not going to be able to do anything. I was just trying to see if I could find some stalkers. Here we go. I think I got out just in time. Exactly, I did. That is great. Now I have an army out here. I don't think I want to walk into this. I don't know how many zealots that is. It's about to be 17 zealots. Yeah, zealots are so good against my army because I don't have widow mines. I also had a couple on the counter attack. That is a good move by him. Now I'm starting 2-1 already. His upgrades are only +1. I do think I actually really like that second eBay decision. I don't like that I went for a 4th barracks. Like, the thing is, I kind of wanted to go for an attack, and then I think at some point I got cold feet. I realized that my position wasn't that great, and then I went for the macro transition. What it would have been better to just get the 3rd CC faster with the double upgrades. Maybe even get a couple bunkers up, and then I suppose after 2-2 get ghosts, or maybe just chill behind my widow mines and my tanks and whatever, right? That also could have been good enough. So right now, this is actually really unfortunate timing for me, because it's +1 against +1. Even though I'm theoretically massively ahead in upgrades, you're not going to be able to see it here. Now, this initial fight was okay. Yeah, the biggest problem here, as you guys can see it very clearly, right? If you play TVP, this is the average production in the mid game, where Terran has 4 or 5 barracks, and the Protoss has 8 gateways plus a robo. So every time you trade, I mean, you are building... Right now I'm building 1 Marauder and 2 Marines. I could build 3 Marauders and 2 Marines against 8 Zealots. That's the wave, right? So if I don't get a really good trade, like that trade was not amazing. I'm also getting a planetary upgrade, but it's a little late. I'm investing heavily in these upgrades. And my opponent is, I mean, I wouldn't really call it all-liming me, but he's going very heavy on the offense kind of before I was ready. Maybe I, would have loved it if I was like a little bit more scary for him. Now, this fight was actually extremely good, to be honest. Like, it really couldn't have been much better, I think. Like, look at the surround here. The Colossus are also falling to those 2 Vikings at the top. Like, really, this was probably the best fight I could have taken, but we were already a little bit too far behind, I think. Now, I mean, if the 2-2 finishes, and then we get 3-3, there could always be a game like that one against Gerald, where we have 3-3 against +1. Actually, I'm not even kidding, guys. I am freaking proud of these fights. Like, he was up 40 supply when he started that fight, and somehow we are still finding ourselves kind of defending against the attacks. I mean, a lot because of this planetary as well. Production is decent. Yeah, maybe if my builder was a little more efficient here, that could have been better. Like, maybe I would have been able to go up to 5 racks already with the 3rd base being down faster. +3, that's actually extremely brave by me. And with brave, I mean silly, because that's not a good idea. I mean, the upgrades, once again, are insane, and I really like this playstyle. So what I decided to do here was just use the ramp as a cover, right? Because the upgrades, if they finish, it's going to get better and better and better for me. I mean, my eco at some point is going to be okay. Even now, it's not as far behind as you would think. Big problem is that he now has a laser giraffe, and laser giraffes are really good in small, confined areas, right? So if he attacks in here, and my Marines are stuck, the Colossus is going to hurt so freaking bad against my units. Now, at the same time, I'm kind of forced to keep making medevacs because these bad boys are out of energy, and that is extremely unpleasant for me. Now, the upgrades right now are 2-1 against +2. I mean, 3-2 is on the way, and he only has +1 armor on the way, so that is nice. But can we survive this? His micro has been very, very good here. As you can tell, it is so awkward to fight into that Colossus. I mean, these fights, once again, are pretty good. Widowmine from downtown actually takes down Sentry there, which is really, really nice. But now my Marine count is very thin. I'm running out of Marauders. I won't be able to deal with the Zealots. And that is GG for game number 1 of the series. Now, once again, like I like to do, or have liked to do so far in this video, could this build have worked? I think for sure. I think there are 2 things that I could have done different. First of all, the build could have been executed a little different, I think. So I really cut a lot of SCVs. Like, I don't know if you guys could notice, but I really cut a lot. It wasn't... In the build, it kind of sounded like you cut SCVs for a little bit. I cut SCVs a lot to get, like, everything out. So maybe I had 2 extra Marines, but it did ensure that my follow-up was just terrible. Like, my follow-up was really, really bad here. I felt so poor. I had no money to make medevacs and stim and all those things. And then the second one was obviously the tank move. Like, if I didn't unsiege this tank... And also, one thing that I should have done, by the way, for sure, where do my Marines go? Oh, that's what happened. So the Marines were on a move down here, look at this, to kill the Nexus, but then they were away from the bunker. Even if it's not about the tank, if my Marines, like look at this, if my Marines were here, it's 2 full bunkers with 2 SCVs repairing, or 3 SCVs repairing against 8 Stalkers and a bunch of probes. Like this probably would have been the game. So could this build have worked? Absolutely. That is my bad. Really fantastic recommendation by the boys. That's my fault that we lost, but that's just game number 1. Let's go to the next one. Okay, game number 2 of the series is going to be on Winter Madness, and this time, oops, Apologies for my bad observing, by the way. I know it sucks, but I'm doing my best at the same time as using my hands and telling stories and whatnot. This time, I'm going to do a cheese that I believe I haven't actually done before. So that is quite impressive, actually. Just like the one-based Swarmo cheese, right? Suggesting me stuff that I haven't tried before that can actually work. That is quite impressive. So this cheese is... well, first of all, it's one of those builds that's either amazing... I think it just depends on how your opponent plays. I feel like some people are going to be really bad against this, and some people are going to make it look really bad. So really, I think this build either looks terrible or absolutely amazing. It is a Proxy Reaper into... Oh, we actually scouted for Proxy. Whew. Thank goodness I built it a little further away. That's very nice. Into a double Factory Cyclone attack. Now, I guess if you would play against someone that goes Stargate against Proxy Reaper... then this build is probably genius by default. If you play against Blink, then, yeah, it's like I mentioned, it's really going to come down to the micro, how they play against it, their reactions, their build, etc. So, actually, wow, this guy, he plays very safe, right? First he checked for the proxy, then he checked for the engineering bay block as well. He's going to go core first now. Let's see, he's probably going to take the Nexus just as fast as he can anyway. Or maybe he's going to be a little scared, let's see. Second gas, okay, so he's a little scared. He's waiting to see if he can find something. You guys see this? You can easily just take the expansion right away, but he's a little scared of taking it instantly, so... a little bit afraid of my missing barracks. I think if you play against this, you don't actually have to be afraid. I guess he was probably just waiting for the... No, it's a normal timing, actually. Huh, okay. I just learned that if I would have Proxy Reaper down normally, I would have been ahead. That's interesting. All this stuff before the expansion. And then he's scouting in, like... I feel like he already scouted, like, 3 different locations or something. Right? And we're actually really, really chilling here. This is quite nice. Making a battery on the high ground as well. Wow, okay. Hey, this build went hard. Okay. Yeah, so what happened is he left my base too early. And then he thought I had no factory. And then he came back. And then he saw... Ooh, oh, almost could have killed that pro. That would have been nice. Gotta save myself with a Reaper grenade. And then he came back, saw the factory, and realized that nothing was sus. Now... this is a little bit of the awkward part, because I was forced to make the tech lab in front of his probe, which I really didn't want to. Also, I just lost the Reaper like an absolute baboon. That's my bad. So this is the way you do it. Factory at home, and then factory proxied. That is pretty much how you want it to go. And then you use this barracks for a vision. The reason I didn't fly it in immediately is because I didn't want to show him my flying barracks, because then it would have gotten pretty obvious right away. So yeah, this is where it gets awkward, because... I could have made Macfield on this one, but I mean, it's still a decent bit faster being here, and I think you really need Macfield upgrade for the Cyclones to work, right? So, I mean, it's kind of a mind game thing, I suppose. I also could have made 1 Hellion from this. I also could have sent the Reaper back home. Hey, that's another good idea, actually. I could have sent the Reaper back home after... the Stalker was out, because then we wouldn't have been able to do any damage anymore, right? Okay, so there's a couple of ideas there of what we could change. But now we go for double Cyclone with the Macfield upgrade, flying barracks. He's going to see the barracks now, sadly for me. I was trying to avoid this for as long as possible, but now my Cyclone's already close, so I think I did a decent job of it, to be honest. Now, since you have enough money, you can expand behind this. There's a couple of ways you can play this here. Either you just kite forever, or you pull SCVs. That does get a little scary, pulling SCVs. Because I guess the Cyclone DPS is not... It depends on how many batteries there are, right? But the Cyclone DPS, probably not enough. If there are too many batteries against just one, it would be okay. Really good micro there by Zaun, by the way. Doing a lot of damage against that barrack so far. I'm trying to barely stay in range. Okay, those were some really good lock-ons over there. This is why the barracks is so nice. Look at the vision it gives. Battery is almost out of energy already. Trying to get another lock-on over here. Third Cyclone is about to arrive. Macfield, barely not done yet. This would be a pretty decent time to pull the SCVs. Now I'm going to go forward again. Try the lock-on over here. And then the misclick of misclicks happened. Yeah, that was... apologies, guys. That was a little anticlimactic. I think you guys can see what happened over here. I can show you again real slowly. I think what I did is I wanted to go here, and maybe I clicked a little bit too far. Maybe you can see the click, actually. Yeah, I'm not sure where I clicked. Probably on the minimap somewhere. Maybe I clicked here, and then my Cyclones went the right way instead. That cost me 2 of 3 Cyclones, and this game was sadly instantly lost. I know it was extremely anticlimactic, but... as you can see, I took a couple seconds here, or like 2 seconds really to be like, yeah, okay, that was stupid. That was a crappy way to end this, but it is what it is. And I'm going to be completely honest here. I did not enjoy this build too much, actually. Sorry to the one who cooked this up, but I really feel like this is a build that only works if you play against someone that doesn't respond to it well. He did really well, microing the Stalkers back. He had a battery ready already, and I mean, Blink was going to finish, and the moment it did, he was going to blink on top of my Cyclones and kill them, basically, right? It wouldn't have been able to do that much, so... yeah, I don't think this one was going to work anyway. Obviously, I would have liked to try it out, or play it out, rather. But unfortunately, this time it wasn't meant to be. And that's going to be it for the $10,000 tournament with your builds. So far, or no, in total, sorry. I just casted all these games back-to-back, so I'm a little fried. We went 3 and 9. 1/3 of the games won, or 1/4 rather. Actually, not that bad, right? I was afraid that we weren't going to win a single game. The Master Leaguers get 2 dubs on the board. The Platinum Leaguers get 1, and the rest get 0. Now, obviously, some of the opponents a little bit harder than others, right? Like the... games against Lambo and against Zaun, obviously, we're always going to be brutal. Still pretty happy with this, and once again, fantastic celebration of our community, and that's going to be it for today. Hope you guys had a fantastic time. If you did, or before I forget, make sure to join the Discord once again if you want to be a part of this. But if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all for the next one. Adios.